same strategy here for CLG. Play away from Huni and see if they can make stuff happen on the other side of the map. Jhin is going to spike pretty early there with the flat armor trade and penetration builds. See if they can get those early kills rolling like they did in game number 1.
And right now, the Gragas was probably going to go through. Yes, it does for Rain over here, because it's just the better of the two between him and Elise left to actually go and defend Vladimir. But that's interesting. The Ezreal for Wild Turtle, kind of an old one for him.
Well, yeah, I mean, for the Gragas that you touch on, I also specifically like it against the Jhin. Very good at punishing the low mobility AD carries. Plus, once the ultimate is popped, he's very easy to stop that as well. And as you say, Turtle with the Ezreal, little bit lower priority here, but very mobile, can take care of himself.
And we saw Turtle do a lot of work here. We'll see what happens with the rest of IMT's draft in just a second, as it looks like Adrian's Champion's just kind of going to complete that side. CLG, though, need to finish the rest of their draft, and we'll see what Huhi in particular has in store for the mid lane.
Yeah, and one of the things that Immortals didn't want to actually pick Ashe for is because you haven't seen the support yet, and there's already a lot of things that would get on a low mobility AD carry, and so, you know, they could have picked an Alistar. They could have actually had something that dives on you, and speaking of dive, the Cassidy come through. We've seen it before as well into the Vladimir as a supposed counter pick here. I believe it was from Huhi himself, and it didn't work out exactly the way he wanted it to, and it's quite surprising he doesn't go for the Cassiopeia, but he thinks this one fits the comp a little bit better. Yeah,
Huhi has dabbled in the Kassadin. Definitely more rare in North America than it is in Europe, where a lot of the mid laners really liking the current state of the champion. We'll see if Huhi can get control of that mid lane, because the main weakness everyone always points out for Kassadin is definitely going to be that wave clear. CLG do not want to, fall behind early. They're going to have to make sure that Rainover doesn't snowball.
And a pretty spectacular last pick here potentially for Immortals. We saw Karma bans in the first few games. We'll see if Adrian wants to lock it in. He's very proficient on these range supports, of course.
I still think you go for a Trundle here because it can knock the Jhin out of his ultimate and you have some peel there, but it is going to be the Karma here. It's just such a high priority for these two supports, but it seems like Aphromu's kind of moved away from that.
At least in this particular draft, is players going to swap their champions around. Very curious moving into game 2. I think Immortals changed very little because they're like, yeah, we like the comp we played, you gave it to us again.
Yeah, I think the Karma pick for Immortals is important to add extra mobility to the rest of the team. That's a stat that's very important to Immortals is move speed, trying to get it from somewhere. Now that Turtle has more safety himself with the Ezreal, they can also have speed ups for everyone else.
Yeah, the Sivir being banned out makes the Karma go up a little bit in priority there.
Well, we'll see what CLG can do with this comp, because Huhi, again, has been kind of changing around his mid laners. Still surprised to not see the Cassiopeia, but it can be dangerous because Immortals' aggression, very easy to pick off that sort of champion, despite how much work you can do. We'll go for Kassadin instead. Pobelter, at some point, we'll need to see an answer for this Vladimir. Maybe it's this pick here for CLG, but if Pobelter has another big game, it's, I think, ban it or bust at that point. You have to start adapting as the series goes on, and that's been the big thing. We're now in game 3, teams are tied 1-1. It's been the adaptation that we've seen really progress the series forward.
Yeah, and Immortals selecting the red side, thinking they'd get something like this. It's the first time that we've seen somebody deviate in this match from actually picking blue side, and it might work out for them because they have a pretty much the same win condition type composition as before.
Definitely true. Very similar composition lining up here with a couple of tweaks to the bottom lane. So we'll see if Immortals bottom lane can show the reason that they decided to go with those tweaks and avoid death.
Got to avoid a lot of it, though, because we saw how devastating the Jhin Braum can be in game 1. We're under the rift one more time for game number 3. We're all tied up, so momentum going to be real important here as we look to see who wins at game number 3.
And we're talking about how this bottom lane, it's a bully lane here from Immortals. The Ezreal with the poke, and same with the Karma being able to actually poke out a low mobility Jhin, see if they can actually poke Aphromu out of the lane as well.
It's also very difficult to gank early on. Normal ganks are going to be really hard to pull off. I mean, you do have Braum and Jhin, which is really good at setting up in lane and capitalizing on ganks, but Ezreal is, with the addition of the Karma speed, very slippery.
Well, I like this from CLG, actually changing things up and invading early level 1, trying to get some deep vision down. Should be traded here, although Huni has not put his Trinket Ward down despite being on that side of the map yet.
And you talked about it in game 1, Kobe, that having a Braum sometimes invading is the best thing to do because you might catch somebody out, an incredibly powerful level 1 champion. And so they just force their way in there to get a little bit more vision. We'll see what they end up doing with it. If it's a cheeky start from CLG, because they have had some of those augmented level 1s back in lane swap days, even in standard lanes. They could do some really strange things that would throw off the enemies.
Definitely admire CLG's creativity as Huni and Rainover going to be moving to this top side of the jungle. CLG should get that info because they did ward the blue side of the jungle. And looks like Xmithy also going to start on that same side. So see what Darshan does again into this matchup. He played it in game number 2. And as always, look for that bottom lane pressure. Things could get very messy.
Yeah, I mean, the margins of victory for Huni in the early trades, in early laning with Darshan, were very small. And Darshan was actually, giving just as good as he got early on in the game before Huni started to whittle away at his turret and open up for that dive. We'll see if it goes differently this time around. I believe Stixxay got all those melees, plus the added bounce onto Turtle, so a huge trade right there.
Good bit of damage as Afro looking to get aggressive. He's getting kited out as Turtle and Adrian with some great poke out onto the Braum, but Stixxay, as the crit shot, just shoots Wild Turtle in the face with it.
Gonna get root too.
There again, he's to go all in. Does not. CLG keeping a little calmer now in the bottom lane, but Wild Turtle taking a lot of beating already. Gonna have to heal up with that potion.
And this is a lane that's supposed to be a little bit of a bully here, and it's honestly Stixxay kind of 1v2ing at the start there, just getting all of the HP out of Wild Turtle. And now they're calling Xmithy down. They don't have a ward for this just yet. If he goes.
He's going. Tunnels in there. Xmithy wants it. He gets the knock-up. Turtle manages to flash himself out of the way with the
he
even. Adrian
tagged him.
got tagged. That's not good news. Adrian, can he run
Here
away?
comes Rainover.
Help's coming. Rainover, double belly bop there. Maybe going to turn things around, but CLG are standing firm again. They'll fight Rainover here as he gets stunned up. Stixxay needs it again, and that's first blood Xmithy.
And Wild Turtle, he was pushed off. He wanted to get there first, but Stixxay cut him off.
Because Stixxay continually chunking out Turtle here, can't join the party, and CLG do end up capitalizing on that gank. They force it again. First blood, this time over to Smithy. Smithy usually will turn first blood money into an early Sightstone and translate that into vision for the team, though.
But last time he played Rek'Sai, it was interesting because he went for the Titanic Hydra build and didn't build the Sightstone, which was a little bit uncharacteristic of him.
All right, let's take a look here. Comes in for the classic over the tri-bush and goes for the flash. Even though this W misses, Adrian's forced off to the other side and flashes in a line with the skill shot from Afro. So because you get tagged and the slow does land, means that they're going to keep up the chase here. And even with Rainover coming, extra heal here from Stixxay to make sure they can catch the rest of the kill.
That was beautiful from Stixxay as well. He's throwing out the shots, tempting Wild Turtle to come over, and he has the crit shot available, so he sits on that one to zone Wild Turtle off, but also means that when he shows up to the fight, he gets that big burst of damage and the Deathfire touch.
You did see in game 2 that, oh, never mind, Darshan back in onto Huni. Does cancel the recall trading again, nicely. Huni going to pop the passive and should return relatively quickly to the top side, but Darshan getting a bit more of a foothold in this lane this time around. No early TP burnt just yet for the Shen. In fact, it may be Huni that's forced that a little earlier, but that bottom lane action we were expecting does bear fruit there for CLG.
Yeah, bottom lane has been the focus of this series, and this time around, huge victory for Counterlogic Gaming. Not only did they get that kill, but it translated into a CS lead for Stixxay as well. And that is very good things when you are on Jhin trying to get your flat armor penetration as quickly as possible.
There is a bit of an advantage here, though, in terms of pressure. In favor of Immortals in the bottom side, they have all these caster minions, but they're probably just going to use it for a good back. And Adrian will try to keep Stixxay from backing so that Wild Turtle is able to actually pick up possibly a tier.
Yep.
You want that early tier on Ezreal. You want that back.
Great little block there from Afro. It's a little low, so I think that's part of why CLG are playing back here. Stixxay happily farming away, got about 10 CS ahead, and we'll actually look for recalls here.
Yeah, see what they do with that gold. Adrian try to interrupt it, but Afro is very keen to what he's trying to do.
Good defense there from Afro. Is checking with the mid lane for the first time, actually. Just even on CS, who he did go back a little early and burn the TP. He's got a quick blasting one, which is quite aggressive for this matchup. Belter though should be fine. Got a Kindle Gem looking for that early Spirit Visage. And again, mid laners kind of want to farm up here.
Yeah, Hui actually feeling really good now, just getting to that level 6.4 Kassadin. Getting wave control as well with the blasting one, taking it down early is really big to try and open up opportunities for him. He did just use the teleport to get back to lane though, so there won't be any of those early on Kassadin teleporting down to bottom lane and picking up those snowball kills off bottom lane. but definitely later on in the game, we'll look at the side lanes for him to affect, because Shen also approaching that level 6 point where they get to create action.
Yeah, and he can actually deliver Shen pretty deep into the fights, too, with that Rift Walk. But he also, because he got that Void Staff, the Blasting Wand, it's going to go into a Rod of Ages, and he didn't go for the Catalyst, so he wanted to have that early wave through like you were talking about, Kobe, so he has that break point. And just speaking of items all around, it's the Tiamat again for Smithy. He was always that Sightstone guy. He's always the one who was about that vision, but against Immortals, he wants to be able to play on their level and have the damage when these skirmishes break out.
It makes it a lot easier to be in the right place if you can clear the camps that much quicker with the Tiamat. You can burn through those things and then get in place for counter ganks, try and get over to the ward battle game. Doesn't actually go into the rush, so Immortals pink ward does stand, and that's pretty big for them in the mid lane. Never mind, Huhi walks in, and he will find it.
Takes it away. Huni taking damage again from Darshan. There's a nice taunt's going to come out. Spirit's Refuge will keep him safe. Huni, though, just navigating his trades pretty nicely. Smith is looking for something here.
Really enjoying that top lane battle because they are constantly trading up there. Meanwhile, though, we have a little bit of a jungle invade, as you say, and the Wolf Spirit does see Smithy.
Yeah, that top lane battle is actually, like, don't try this in solo queue, kid, because it's very risky. You see how often they are trading, and Huni is actually losing most of these trades right now, but he's getting a small CS advantage every time he does it. Maybe Darshan misses 1 or 2, and now we're seeing it be almost double digit now in terms of how far ahead Huni is.
See pressure. Definitely still building up for the top lane, but Darshan does have his ultimate, so can make his way bottom. Goes in again here as these trades just do not stop.
Yeah, like, Shen just comes out on top of these trades for a good period in the game, and since he's a Monolith-based champion, Huni, when he keeps trading like that, he'll eventually run out of mana, and we've seen it a few times. It looks scary for Huni, but if he plays it right, he eventually gets this large CS advantage.
And then just all back to lane for pressure. Now he's got tempo up on the top side as well. Teleports are synced up as well for both top laners. The only problem is, of course, that's staying united. Bottom lane does have to be a bit cautious. Not really a problem, though, as they're getting pushed under turret by CLG.
This might even be a dive brewing here for CLG. Smithy going to look for that first tunnel.
Huhi is also roaming through the jungle right now so that they don't have any early alert system.
Here we go. Adrian going to get hit up by the first few bolts. Turtle does get tagged by the King Boys, but Darshan's in as well. Dajinat's going to move in and stick stay with another crit, as now Turtle's going to get chased down. Massive snare on the other end, and Huhi gets the second.
I fell into that classic trap. Oh, bottom lane, yeah, just farm under turret. Play safe, right? Ah, we can't play safe. They're 5-man diving us.
Yep. Everybody comes down to the bottom side. In Huhi looked like he was trying to roam as well, maybe get a piece of it if he had gotten away. But this turret, it's going to go down first. See the top side, maybe a little bit.
The race is on. Who's going to get that first turret money?
First turret gold is very important as well because they gave up a decent amount of pressure. Huhi getting right back to that mid lane, though, so they don't give up any more mid.
But this is the big thing is when we talk to some teams, they talk about first turret gold. It's really meaningful when it's on a single person. It's that 650 chunk. 2 people get it, it's 388. And when you spread it over 4 people, it's just honestly not that recognizable of a lead. At that point, it's kind of small.
I don't know. I'm an old school.
You're
Gold
old
is
school.
gold.
Gold is
Give
gold.
it to my team. I'm happy. All right, here we go. This is how they started out, though. Lands the first 2 shots to get the slow, and they do, Adrian, there's no chance for him there. He actually did burn the flash earlier, too, so that will be one summoner that they have to keep track of, and maybe Adrian will be another return to target, which is actually scary for Immortals, because Turtle already is going to be, pretty safe on the Ezreal. They're actually leaving him by himself now to clean out the bottom lane.
Seems like they trust him to collect that farm as CLG continuing to navigate nicely here. Actually up almost 2,000 gold, so that turret and the 3 quick kills they've gone, seems like they've found their aggression from the opening in the series. They're actually going to swap Stixay and Afro to this mid lane as well and try and apply some pressure. Huni, I think, currently visiting. He's going to hang out and clear what he can. But Immortals may have to move there as well. You said about Turtle. Ooh. He's left alone. That could be a bit dangerous in the long lane.
He does have double summoners to blow if he does get caught out. So they're kind of taking this into account when they make this risk. They're like, okay, Turtle, you're going to be by yourself in bottom lane. We're going to send Adrian to try and help out with the ward fight.
I think? No, not
No,
quite.
that's a blue scuttle.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Good try, though. Good attempt there.
It looked like the Karma Cube.
Definitely. I'm having fun in this bizarro world where CLG are constantly pressuring the Immortals early on, right?
It's really unusual because CLG was always the team that had to wait for that mid game. You think about MSI as well. Like their early game was not strong for most of this split, whereas Immortals had one of the strongest early games in the entire league.
Well, I love
top
this
2.
I love this here from CLG. They're going to take this Infernal. We've seen very late Drake takes, and maybe it's because the first one's a Cloud Drake is why, but Infernal, a good priority dragon to get. They will pick it up here, and nice and at a good pace as well there in 11 minutes in. Big Sage's farming out what he can, looking for that Ghost Blade relatively soon. Ahuni back to his old tricks with the Sheen. I imagine we'll see a similar Trinity Force start, and he did bully Darshan nicely with a 20 CS lead so far. Huni is set up to do work once again.
This looks like it might be a stun here. Oh,
It's just a bait. Smithy's like, hello. Gonna chase him out of the way. Huni's pulling pressure. We'll see what Immortals can maybe get done on the other side.
doesn't have Smite quite up just yet.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell the difference between
here comes
pressure and Smithy just farming his Grom.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, it looks like it's just grabbing that Toad. Because honestly, whoa, actually interesting switch here with the Jhin over to mid lane. The AD carries, I've talked about it a lot. Switching Jhin to mid lane just feels so good because there's so much kill pressure here early on in the game. It's one of those early spiking ADs. We keep talking about the flat armor penetration, but opening up the ultimate around mid lane is so much pick potential. And then they just slip Kassadin right into a side lane. He wants to be split pushing. His teleport is available. CLG, into their old school strategy of 1-3-1, and meanwhile the first one of the 1-3-1 is starting to gain some momentum here against Huni.
Yep, it honestly still wins it right now, but look at this, a fight on the side, and this might be the open up you're talking about.
Mid lane Jhin, he opens up.
He's looking for it there. Smithy low gets ulted back by Rainover. Not quite dead yet, but Rainover will collect the kill. Stixade fires into the wind.
Mid lane Jhin opening up against full health target. Shucks.
Yeah, they were invading, and they only brought 2 members, and then, well, you got to leave one of them behind. So it was Smithy there, got picked up, and so that actually takes a little bit of the wind out of the sails there.
Yeah, so
CLG.
The other thing that a lot of the pro players have been talking about recently too, and Crumbs was actually talking about this, is the evolution of your ward buddy system, warding buddy system, and fighting over vision has gone from just the support to the support plus the jungle to the support plus the jungle plus the mid laner all having to go at the same time. Because when you do get skirmishes like that, you need to have everybody really close because only a couple of seconds of damage mean the difference between you winning and getting killed like that. Stixade, yes, he is on Jhin, can open up from far away, but it was too late as Smithy and co were too low on health already to get finished off, and Immortals get that kill back for themselves.
Feels like Immortals kind of playing the game they want to here. They are still up, but they're slowing it down once again. We saw this in game 2. Things definitely were a little quieter moving towards that mid game. But Immortals, they're getting farm on all 3 lanes here. I mean, Stowe is CLG, I guess, so they're happy to trade. But we are approaching, again, another very explosive-looking mid-game where one T-Fight could blow the game open again.
And especially with something like a Kassadin that has backline access, him getting onto Wild Turtle, we are going to have some explosive fights where you kind of trade frontliners, where you're probably going to send the Kassadin towards the Ezreal, and you're probably going to send Huni straight at the enemy AD carry.
Red Rover, send Vladimir over.
You don't even have to ask to send Huni over. He's already there most of the time.
Battle of the Titans continues. Darshan again winning a lot of these early trades, but Huni is waiting for that first item, so I can certainly understand why. In general, teams are looking good. Iceborne Gauntlet done early for Turtle Rod Evaders, and Ghostblade there for Huki and Stixade respectively. And CLG, they're still trying something here with the 3-lane pressure. They really want mid.
Yeah, and you can see the vision battles do continue. Stixade's moving up the minion wave. Afromoon supporting Smithy in that effort to kill the pink ward.
I'm always nervous, because last time this happened, I thought no one was going to die, and then Darshan always killed Huni.
Yeah, this matchup kind of sucks if you are faint of heart. If you try to cower,
Yeah.
if you're a coward, you try to get out of there, then you definitely lose the trade. So you have to be a man, but you have to know when to back off a little bit.
Certainly very delicate. CLG again, making sure Stixade's hanging out, pivoting around him here in the mid lane, but Turtle's actually come over as well. It's like, you know what, I like this mid lane free farm thing. I'll give it a go. As soon as he does teleport himself back to lane with the ultimate.
Doesn't want to miss any CS here and keep that small advantage that he has now.
Trinity Force up as well, so Huni ready to brawl.
Oh, that is a pretty big break point. I don't know if I would want to set up the push gank against the just completed Trinity Force, but Darshan does.
Yeah, he's going to go try for it, but here's Rainover ruining his day. Darshan, he does have everything available. Can he get out?
Afro is also heading up there. Meanwhile, mid lane.
Oh my god, they're just going in for it. Will he dive? He actually does get damage down, but not quite enough. Looks like Darshan also escaped with his splash. So everything's just fine.
So CLG move all of their resources up to collapse on top, and they make a move mid lane. That means that bottom lane, the split there from Pobelter, Vladimir, went all the way to the turret, and that is going to be some extra minions that do go down. He does not cut off Huhi on his way down to clean them up, so I think there will be inaction here as everybody just tries to stabilize and grab the minions.
Yeah, and that's what everybody's just trying to do right now. TP actually going to be used by Darshan to get back to the top side, just to keep this pressure up. That's why we keep seeing the TP from Shen back to the lane, so he can stand united elsewhere, doesn't need that teleport, and then Huni constantly uses his ultimate to get back, because if you let up any pressure, you give a free lane to the other person.
Pressure everywhere! We need some heart rate monitors on these top laners, because they are just, constantly fighting, waiting for the teleport opportunities. One of the most strenuous things that you have to use in a game is coordinating with the rest of your team. When do I use my teleport? Staying united, does it come in? So it's such a valuable cooldown, and it can mean a very big swing in the game if you use it incorrectly.
Here comes Uni.
$5 uses it. There he goes. Again, every single time he loses it that way.
Well, it looks like Drake could be the next thing. 10 seconds now till Ocean Drake will spawn. Crab this time goes over to Immortals, managed to secure some vision around it. You have to think they are going to move in for this objective, maybe fancy mid a bit more, so we'll see where the priority lies, but teams are positioned for a brawl here. Again, much like Game 2, kind of building up to this fight. CLG have a slim lead, but that's just what it is, it's slim.
Yep, because both teams really matching each other here, switching AD carry support over to the mid lane, try and clear out the waves. Vladimir answering the casted and split push, because bottom lane, very easy to get over to that Drake fight with Ghost. Don't need to teleport on Vladimir, and Pobelter looking to make another one of those big plays at the next Drake fight. It will be Ocean, so I don't know how hard they will commit to it. Remember, the fight is going to be more important than the Drake. Because if you win that big team fight in a big way, you can take all these standing turrets that are out there, get a lot more gold. Whereas a mid-game Ocean Drake at 18 minutes, not a huge swing. So be very cognizant of your positioning according to the fight that will come out, rather than trying to smite steal or sacrifice your life to do something like that.
Thanks, Professor. I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, I definitely think the Ocean Drake, not always worth fighting over. It's more the fight itself that people are trying to get. It's that kind of that point that everybody wants to be at.
Well, Vlad versus 2 should be okay for Pobelter. Maybe not actually. Huhi going in for it. Does get some good poke damage down. Pobelter not going to quite get that Crimson Rush empowered Q, but should heal up pretty quickly.
Yeah, just to assert dominance over the blue buff area for the Dragon for CLG. So just trying to push him out, get those pink wards gone.
Pressure again, just starting to pile up everywhere. Huhi's still going back in with the Pobelter, and he wants it a little more. He might be going to get forced out. Huhi looking nice. But we have a fight in our hands. Huni going to TP in. Huhi now going to get stand united on Darshan. Going to try and cover it as Xmithy and Stix's ulti are cutting them off. Huni with a caught out position in the front line, but he's relatively tanky. Xmithy flashed himself over to the wall, I think, or maybe tunneled his way out. But Darshan a little too low. Huni finally claims a victim. Ults himself out to safety, and Immortal going to surge forward. They take out Huhi, rain over. Makes the blade a flank too. And Pobelter straight forward. Immortals get a clean house here.
I tell you, the E not breaking on Sanguine Bull for Vladimir was one of the best things to ever happen to him. Huge follow-up there from Pobelter. Does burn both summoners, and Immortals get the better of CLG in the Drake fight.
And it looks like a big part of that was, hold on.
Ooh, going in again. Xmithy trying to defend the red buff, maybe ill-advised.
Hey, he does have smite as well.
Huni wants it.
Oh, the opponent gets what he wants!
Unfortunate there for Xmithy. As like you said, Immortals did ignore the Drake. They just wanted the team fight and they won it handily.
Keep your eyes on the kills. I mean, this all started out, remember, Huhi was constantly on Pobelter, just poking the bear here. Keeps on aggressing into the jungle really deep. And they do have all the means to collapse. Jhin is going to pop the ultimate. They're a little bit spread out. And this is actually fortunate for CLG that they get that disengage. Huhi flashes right before Gragas ultimate. So that's kind of a dream disengage. But then they go right back in. And it's a 4-on-5 because Stix's walking over and ult is timed out.
Exactly.
There's the tunnel there from Xmithy. And they do collapse on Darshan.
And that looked like a little bit of a split mindset there, because it looked like Huhi and Darshan wanted to turn it back around. And Stixay was using a disengage type ultimate there. Because at that point, you'd really love it when these guys are pretty low and that you'd be able to get that execute damage off.
Keep seeing it from CLG. They've looked very clean in these fights as the models do get their cake and eat it too. Dragon going to go over to them as they pick up the Ocean. The models just really step things up after that game 1 loss, looking very together here. Pobelter on the Vlad has looked wonderful. It's 2-0-3 right now. And CLG, they're still doing their thing. The Immortals is doing it a little bit better. Although the gold is dead even as I say that, so this game is still got a long way to go.
And to be honest, this is a very impressive showing from Counterlogic Gaming, because everybody was expecting Immortals. You know, they took Cloud9 to 5 games. They were very powerful coming in, and CLG got swept by Team Solo Mid. Well, this game, neck and neck, game 3, already took a game off of them. It's actually kind of uncharacteristic of CLG, and they might be up on an upswing here.
Yeah, I mean, CLG are the underdogs. They're used to being the underdogs, though, very often in their history, and still fighting here. Very close series, 1-1. Immortals definitely looking like they want this game, but look at that gold. Very even as far as they go. 1 Drake apiece. The thing is, kind of worried here about the end game. We'll see, though. A lot of vision wars going on right now. Okay, no. Every time they collapse here inside the jungle,
Yeah, I know, it's like,
myself for the action because they're fighting over the blue buff.
Well, blue buff this time going to go over to Rainova.
Belter grabs it there with the tides.
Gives them a little bit extra, more AP.
He'll take it. Not too bad there. Darshan and Huni still here. Cue the music at this point because they're running circles around each other. Darshan still getting ahead in a lot of these trades, but Huni, I think, has to spend some gold as well. So there's definitely a push and pull here. CLG going to keep fighting here. And
push and pull and punch and kick and bite. These guys have been just all over it.
It's like Parappa the Rapper, man. You rub it back. Oh, man. Anyway, Dreamcast was great.
getting stronger. And I think these turrets have been the big sore point. Immortals, this would be a very good break to get if they can knock down the mid turret. The map is still very closed, and CLG dig their heels in and defend. But Afromy going to get himself poked out. Immortals, do they go for it?
Yeah, I mean, CLG are going back to the 1th round without the teleport available for Kassadin, so that's why Immortals is pushing in on this turret. They have the pressure advantage. Now Huhi, though, after shoving the bottom lane, is heading up to mid.
They need to do something here. Immortals might have been looked to just dive and break it wide open.
And meanwhile, Huni's actually doing the blue buff right now, so they're at least getting something out of this for Immortals. And they just pushed Huhi outside.
Bit of a brute force there, but the 6A ultimate's going to try and clear the wave out, I think. Huni very threatening in the tower. He's going to fall. He just goes for it. Huni phase dives onto Xmithy. He's right over. Just a little short, gets the ulti down, but he won't quite connect for the rest of it. CLG can maybe turn it around. Rainova, big mistake. Gets himself stunned under the turret.
Huhi didn't go deep to the back line, though, because they're worried about the damage that Immortals could still put out. They do play it a bit safe there. They catch the 1 kill, they snared Rainover, and so they take that guaranteed small advantage, and it looks like they're trying to move it up towards the top side, but I think it might end at just that 1 kill. A little bit of an overstep from Rainover. He gets punished for missing that flash.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to actually back up Huni. Huni dove in, then Rainover's like, all right, to actually tag teamed him out, while Turtle was trying to back. At the same time, he was right off of screen. He is sitting on like 2,000 gold.
It's one of those things, whenever you see Immortals play, I always think of this story, because if you play with them in ranked games, how their communication is almost all Rainover talking to Huni and like, slow down, take it slowly here, move it slowly, back away. And like the whole team is trying to catch up to Huni's, pace.
Well, it's pretty breakneck as Immortals do claim the very key structure in the center of the map, and despite the gold still sitting effectively even here almost 25 minutes into this game, Immortals have key territory that they've now taken and will once again gear up for the next fight around the Mountain Drake, where Immortals may look to win yet another spectacular team fight. But this is easily the closest of the 3 games we've seen so far. Everyone's just getting stronger. Stixay with 2 items, looking good. CLG feels like they haven't felt as much pressure, but again, the teams are just learning each other as they play the series.
And then they can still find time to dance in mid lane. This game's got it all. All right, here we go, fighting over the tunnels, though. I mean, taking down the tunnel network is not really ever highlighted, but every little bit does count. You definitely want to at least clean up the ones that are, around river and stuff. Uh-oh, here we go, though. More action.
Pobelter actually now 1v2. Can he get out of this one? Huhi going to dive himself forward. Big heal there from the ultimate, but Huhi wants it! Chases in, but Pobelter just has too much healing.
Whoa, he flashed for that, too.
Yeah.
Pobelter is going to walk away from it and try and heal back up off the minions.
And Smithy sticking around and trying to force him off that turret, and that goes to save Pobelter so many times on this Vladimir. And he just got pressure alleviated.
Yeah.
Walk back up.
Look at this. They're roaming Adrian. He's in the river, threatening to roam up to the top side, so CLG know they can't make this dive.
It's a long
and,
lane.
they fight him off of the turret, so good job there by Immortals. You know, they burned the Kassadin Flash, which is very big. One of those tools you talked about earlier, Pastry, getting the Shen even deeper into the back lines. That's one of the things that, you know, they would like to use offensively.
Part of the issue as well is that you can see Pobelter just tanking everything because there is a notable lack of healing reduction at this stage. Morello's not yet there for Huhi. Executioner's Calling will come somewhere for 6A, but it's not exactly easy with the paths they've chosen to get it early. And Pobelter just has free reign until that point hits, and maybe even when it hits, he can just take over because Vlad is such a strong scaling champion.
Yeah, I'm curious to see who's going to have more damage dealt to champions, because Darshan and Huni are going to have a lot. They're constantly trading each other back and forth and getting back lane and healing. But Kassadin and also Huni has been constantly just going straight to Pobelter's face. So the same story. They're just trading back and forth.
Yeah, it's kind of that agreement. You want to pad our stats, pad our stats. 80 carries both had the same damage. We can like do this as well. That's fine. But honestly, moving into the late game, though, I'm really interested to see what ends up happening with the damage dealers on this team and the defensiveness, because CLG and Immortals both have compositions that you don't mind going late. You just look for these fights, and it's the setup that matters.
Yeah, right now 6A is peaking at the maximum flat armor penetration build, and he is ready to rip anyone who's out of position. Now, the good thing also about picking Ezreal into Jhin is that Ezreal does build some armor to kind of help with that and mitigate it a little bit with that Iceborne Gauntlet. This Drake, though, maybe will be the thing that does spark the next team fight. Smithy backing right now doesn't really signal anything because Rek'Sai ult is available. Could pop back out. Wards go down.
The teleports everywhere. Everyone's got theirs up, but I don't think CLG fancy a contest just yet. Afromy throws a chair in, looks for maybe a steal, but that's secured there for Immortal. CLG kind of gave up on that one.
Yeah, they've actually swapped up their allocations as far as split pushers go, too. Choosing to put Huhi against Huni instead, and Darshan taking the Vladimir duty because Kassadin not really making any ground there in the 1v1.
Yeah, but this is also a 1v1 that it just goes back and forth as well, and honestly, Vladimir killing the Shen probably not going to happen, and the Shen vice versa.
Yeah, I think it's a good choice there from CLG to switch that up because they weren't really gaining any momentum the other way around. Scuttle Crab there does go over to Smithy. I lied. I have not been keeping track of those. I said I was going to do it. I'll say it's 17 to 12.
Well, have to check later. See just how good you are, Professor, as Immortals still moving their way down mid lane. Again, it's been such a delicate game these teams are playing in. Nobody wants to get themselves caught out in a silly spot. CLG are pretty firmly committed to a 1-3-1 here, and Immortals are doing their best to answer despite only one teleport versus the two and the Shen ultimate. Huni going to get himself the blue buff. Immortals are certainly getting stronger, but Baron is probably our next point to look at now. We saw the Scuttlecrab vision go down. Teams are likely going to move their way over and try and knock that down. But that's still like a million turrets up on this map.
Yeah.
So it's not really a whole lot of room to wiggle around.
Yeah, there's only 3 turrets gone. There's very little in terms of long lanes, and they're playing these long lanes appropriately, allocating their vision control to that side and usually keeping their jungler around that area, because you can see right now Huni having to actually back off a little bit because Smithy's there, but on the opposite side, Pobelter gets to push Huhi in. So it's just honestly trading of these lanes and who gets to push in first, and it just goes back and forth.
Yeah, both of these teams fighting tooth and nail in match number 3 here, having the series tied up. And this does, it does mean a lot moving into the gauntlet, even if, neither of these teams count on what happens tomorrow. If they find themselves in the gauntlet, seeding there does matter as well. One less best of 5, they talked about it. Right now, though, heading over, vision control can earn you something. CLG, though, they do have vision.
TP from Huhi and from Darshan. They're all coming in.
And Immortals play it safe to actually pull pretty firmly off that Baron. Smithy may be caught, gets ulti back by Reignover, but flashes out to safety and will tunnel back towards Afromu. That's going to keep him safe, but Darshan a little far in. Huni actually getting chunked out a bit by the ulti as Hui's going to chase him 1v1, but CLG still getting collapsed on here. Immortals looking for something.
Yeah, 2 top laners there trying to kite the opponent team, and we have a merry-go-round. They find each other at the Raptors, though.
Maybe going in again. Well, Turtle actually DPS down, but Hui with a big amount of burst. Good threaten, snare, lands in, but it doesn't quite connect on Huni. Good damage, but Immortals just kind of slowly creeping their way forward. They're a little too tanky for CLG, I think.
Yeah, and they've got that sustain. Pobelter on the front lines on Vladimir, continually soaking and healing back up.
And Huni just went back, got home guard, ultied in So now they continue their siege.
The never-ending siege perhaps there as Immortals. Pobelter again just going to soak damage out from the Jhin. CLG just can't seem to get in at all.
Well, they don't have wave clear. That weakness that we highlighted before and is so constant with the Kassadin, yes, Counter Logic Gaming, they have kill potential and chase down potential. It has to come from an all-in confrontation, though. You can't just wave clear, add a turret, and Immortals keep it up. They've got the Vladimir sustain and that ultimate from Huni that you mentioned, Cyrene, getting right back in there with the home guards.
Yeah, and if this composition ends up getting a Baron buff on Immortal's side, CLG, it's so difficult to clear these waves normally, let alone have that on top of it, and they want them 1-3-1 sometimes on Immortals, that you would lose a whole lot off of that, more than you normally would with somebody like a Sivir on your team.
Additional pressure, though, still mounting as Huni, I think, has been in a side lane. I mean, with Darshan, to be fair, pretty much for the duration of this game. Very rarely these teams grouping up, and it does feel like CLG, despite the gold lead not being particularly significant, the Immortals just have maybe a bit better of a plan or composition moving towards this late stage of the game. Yes, they can break it open, but CLG have pacified a little bit moving into this section of the game, and Immortals seem to be happy to play a little more patiently, which is a scary thing versus a team that usually plays so fast and so aggressive.
Recognizing their win conditions right now, Pobelter needs to get up to a point where he's pretty much unstoppable. And then Huni, though he does have a little bit of an advantage, but I still think that he really wants to hit that item break point, get to a Titanic Hydra, have a way to get the back line and blow them up, because he's been on Stixxay and Huhi duty pretty much all game long, keep a damage dealer occupied.
Also, it's interesting if we look at both lineups. The Immortals lineup, the damage is spread out a little bit more evenly, where they have a top laner, Huni's built some damage as well, and a lot of defense is being built on Turtle. So Turtle's building, to survive with this Ezreal, whereas CLG, it's pretty much pure damage from Stixxay and pure defense from Darshan on the Shen, because there's no way that Shen is going to be able to match up with the late game damage of Echo there as you get into it, even though pass through Qs on the Shen sword do go unnoticed by a lot of tanks.
Make no mistake, I think a successful fight for CLG is when Pobelter dies, and he's just so impossible to kill. Although Stixxay does now have the Executioner's Calling, so we'll cut through some of that. It's curious to think what a winning team fight for CLG might look like, but they're happy to play the split push game, and maybe that's what they have to do here.
It'll probably look like Stixxay has his IE completed and he's critting Wild Turtle out of a fight, or getting a really good ultimate to pick off Pobelter, because he does get quite low.
Very well could be. Also could look like a side lane victory. Both these teams are built well equipped to do the 1-3-1 and do the split push, and whoever does get the first side lane advantage can then try and transition that into objectives afterwards. But man, this game bouncing very, very precariously.
And you were talking about how this matters a lot right before the Baron was on the table for Immortals. Immortals, difference between 1 best-of-5 or 2 best-of-5s. If they lose this match, they're guaranteed to play a team, or have to play a team if they want to get to Worlds, that has already beaten them, whether it's Cloud9 or CLG.
Well, Huhi does get a tower down finally. Baron, a little bit of a threat, but that next Drake's going to go over to Immortals. And then Elder Dragon will be on the table, and we're pretty late into this game. These big objectives starting to matter a whole lot.
Yeah, and both teams starting to run a little bit thin on vision. Immortals run very quickly up off the Dragon to make sure that nothing's on the Baron. And there's another ring around the Rosie. Here's turn 2 as Huhi finds Pobelter.
I mean, he's actually doing decent damage now. Lich Bane helping out. I was going to say in the Huhi Darshan matchup, I didn't expect something to happen, and then it did, and I kind of learnt my lesson. For a while there, Huhi and Pobelter meeting, I'm just like, I'm not even going to watch it anymore, because they weren't killing each other. But Huhi is actually stacking up damage.
Yeah, Kassadin, almost level 18, gets really scary for any members, even frontline members. But honestly, even with a Hex Drinker on Wild Turtle and being Ezreal, still going to have to watch out for that Kassadin diving, because he's got partners and he's going to have cover fire from Stixxay.
Yeah, and if he gets those last 2 items, which what I assume would be like a Void Staff and maybe a Death Cap on top of it, would be incredibly powerful, and that means that Pobelter would have a much harder time staying alive, and if you can get him to half HP, Stixxay might be able to take care of the rest, and you could remove a Vladimir, which has been so hard to do.
35 minutes into the game, and we are only maybe 200 gold apart for these two teams. Is going to come down to that in-game play. Here we go, set up on the Drake once again. They do have a CLG ward, but I doubt they'll get anyone over there because most of the team is in the fountain.
I mean, if CLG have demonstrated anything this particular game, it's that they are more than happy to play patiently here. They trust in their team play. But I think sure Immortals do as well. And there's the Drake. Elder Dragon now on the table.
And these moments in this game where it's so even and both teams are kind of playing around each other and answering each other's moves, you're just waiting for that one break point because this matters for momentum in the series and putting them on that point.
Pobelta!
Here's that side lane we talked about for the advantage. Hui, though, gets collapsed on.
Hui, the Zonya's baits there. Reignover going to turn around and Hui collapses. Immortals this time beat them to the 5-man.
You could tell he knew that it was time to pull off, and he started to back away, but a good little bait there as Pobelta just hung his leg on, hey, you don't want to finish me? And Hui actually takes the bait. Reignover comes in for the collapse, and they get the advantage. Now, can they turn it into something on Baron?
Exactly, and that's just over-eagerness there from Hui. He wanted something to happen, and that's the point in the game. It's so stressful. You want to be the hero, but you also don't want to be the person who puts your team behind, and it ended up being his team had Pobelter's back.
Immortals pull off the Baron, but no throw just yet. They can keep going. I think they did keep the health down.
Yeah, Vladimir can tank Baron pretty easily and heal back up.
Yeah, they want to stall for Hui because he has TP. If they're able to keep this up,
10 seconds away, it's not enough time.
In the pit.
They have to do it. Stixxay critting everybody away, and this Baron is so low. They're just going to stand here and fight.
Smithy's so low!
Doing a lot of damage, and it's going to get it! It is Gragas. Reignover takes the Baron, and Immortals weather the storm and are able to keep moving in. Darshan here is on. Here comes Hui. He must save the day here. And he goes in. Looks for Adrian. Doesn't find him. Pobelta still taking there on the front line as Darshan dives into the back. Hui does pop the Zonyas in. And he's trying so desperately. Does get turtle, but he needs to survive. Dies there to Reignover after Riv walks away. Darshan is going to lose the GA. And Stixxay has barely limped away. I spoke too soon.
Can he do this?
They're going to chase him. Actually, Stixxay.
He's got a crit. He's got a crit.
Darshan actually still pretty big. Pobelta needs to die. But Darshan gets him in 6. They just can't make his way back in.
Ooh, we're going to need to see that fight from the very beginning again, because it's hard to see the trades going on in the back of Baron Pit with 8 people, I think, behind Baron right there. Spike's hitting everyone, and Immortals do come out with the victory.
And it's amazing here as well because Immortals all pull off of it and damage Smithy because he comes in and look at his HP. He's full. And then they stop DPS. Baron at 2,600. Now, all on Smithy. Look at how low he gets. He is almost dead right now, and now the CLG saying, burn it. Almost in smite range there, and he goes down right before.
Meanwhile, Pobelta was zoning the outside here with Stixxay. Stand United comes in, and they're able to chunk down Huni. Don't get that last auto for the Braum stun. Would have been Huni's death, disallowing him from using his ultimate. But he gets it off. Then Hui goes to the other back line, takes out Turtle, and sacrifices his life. Right here, I was questioning if Stixxay was going to stick around after he kills Reignover.
Reloading.
Help Darshan, but he is reloading.
Yeah.
And gives up on Darshan. Yeah, probably the best decision to get out of there.
Yeah.
Very, very close. And CLG do have to deal with a Baroned up Immortals team now.
Yeah, he was reloading and then he wanted to just hit the minions 3 times and have that crit come back in. But by the time that happened, Darshan wasn't able to outlast.
Can't get too close to Vladimir because the Tides of Blood was already charging. Meanwhile, extra bonus here for Immortals. They get to use this Baron buff to take down some extra turrets and increase that gold lead.
Yeah, meanwhile, on top side of that, Pookie is just pushing up there, and that's going to be Immortals wrecking through the base. Talk about how when they get a Baron, they're going to take so much.
Yeah, it's just too much damage there. They're going to move in for the inhibitor to be able to take it. Hui's back now, but that inhib's already dead.
Yeah, he doesn't have teleport anymore because he just used that in the re-engage at the Baron, so no way he can get back to try and clear this wave. CLG lose the inhibitor.
Oh my God, Turtle safe there from the shields. Immortals make sure to defend their own. They'll back away safely as CLG. Starting to feel like they're a little too far behind now. Immortals just needed one fight. And Stixxay again almost turned it around. These fights have been insane all series long.
Yep, what a fight it was. Immortals not done yet though. Moving up the mid lane to try and get inhibitor turret number 2 with the Baron buff.
CLG know they have to do something now. They're going to look for a play, but Immortals just going to dive them, I think. Darshan already used their teleport. Ulti from Afram is pretty good there on the Braum, but they're just going to take the turret down. Huni getting a little too low, does ulti out to safety. Pobelta taking in the front lines and the turret. Does fall to Immortals. Stixxay lining it up, but he needs to shoot someone down. Reignover running interference in the front line, but Hui does take him down. Now Stixxay, you try to turn it around. Xfinity, absolutely massive knockup. Turtle's going to go down, and CLG flipping again!
Immortals dare to reach too far there into the CLG base. They claim 4, and they're running it back up mid lane. How many turrets can they take?
I don't think they'll be able to end the game. There's 40 seconds as well. They have so many to
turrets?
do.
No,
I know. I'm just tempering expectations. Tempering expectations.
There's one.
Yeah.
CLG going to move in for a second. Darshan happy to face tank this. Mini's going to join in. Huni back here to threaten. The answer may just be 2 here. CLG do get 2 down the mid. Do they keep going? In fact, they're going to split up. Guhi and Smithy going to work together, and this will be 3. CLG doing big damage to Immortals. Still going. These death times are long.
And that Matthias Soul Stealer, he was sitting on a Dark Seal that had 10 stacks already. Hasn't died yet for Huni.
I love it when you raise the stakes like that. Now we've got the Medjais in the game as well. Back to this fight, though. Let's take a look at this extension, because Huni goes back in, and it takes multiple snares from CLG under turret, while Immortals are tanking that turret damage. Huni gets locked up. There it's going to be for him. And he ults right back out, but then they exchange front people here.
Yeah, and it takes so much damage onto Huni, but Pobelter only got 1 person with his Hemo Plague. It was the engage there from Reignover, and Afromu able to actually block a little bit of it, but then the re-engage, the flash knock-up from Smithy, and the only person who survives is Huni, because his stacks. Gotta keep him safe.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about this comp, right? They don't have very much wave clear, but if you get to the point where you're losing the fight, it's so hard to disengage from Jhin, Kassadin, Braum, and then Smithy goes in with the flash to secure the re-engage there for CLG, and they do get some back. I have to say, though, regardless of that, Immortals still in control of this game, and they're looking to press it.
Well, if you like raise stakes, Kobe, Elder Dragon is now alive, and Barrett's up in a minute 35, so everything's on the line, and Immortals have actually straight up started it already.
Yeah, and Huni in the base, waiting for a TP home guard play here, and Stixay off on the side. He's still trying to walk towards this fight, and Darshan as well. But here comes the TP. It's on top of where Stixay is.
Oh, Stixay, it's not a good spot to be standing, but Huni does not.
He's just buying time. The Dragon's going to go down.
Immortals are actually still doing it here. Stixay opens up with the ultimate. Immortals need to move back in. Who's in the backline? He actually chunks one out. Reino getting low. Reads the crit there as Smithy takes him down. CLG trying to keep fighting into Who's going ballistic as he pops the Zhonya's. Pobelter, the only one left. He takes out the Kassadin.
Oh,
Stixay has done it. Stixay gets out of Pobelter. Gonna flip it all around. Huni now diving in onto Darshan as he's gonna get chased out of Pobelter. There's the triple kill. Darshan now gonna get locked up, and Immortals win a very scrappy fight.
These are so intense with multiple bots. Darshan's going to teleport out.
They're already cutting him off, though. He's not going to make it out of this, even if he accepts it.
Smithy maybe not going to make it as well. In fact, Pobelter and Adrian want more. They're going to try and push the minions down to the bottom lane.
Is he trying to delay back so they can get up to the second inhibitor here? There is an exposed inhibitor that Immortals could go after in the mid lane if they transition up. But they're
if you think about the wave clear, though, they might try to end the game right
Darshan's
here,
gonna
but
cut the
Darshan...
minion.
He's got to run interference. He pops the refuge. Pobelter, though, still doing a little too much work. Turtle now laying in the damage as Smithy disrupts 2 there with a knockup, but he doesn't have anything. He shreds as Immortals are able to take him down. Pobelter gets himself another. Darshan chasing in the GA's pop, and Immortals, I think that's enough.
Well, 3 seconds on Huhi, though. He's about to be back up.
They're trying to buy time for those reanimations as Hui's back up.
This game's getting silly as Hui's now back up. Pobelter, he's moving his way back in. Shields there from Adrian, keeping him safe. Pobelter feeling Immortal this game.
I'm thinking through this call to try and cut the minions because it's very, very risky. And you're pretty much putting yourself out there just to get killed. Now, if you wait and fight under the Nexus turrets, and you try and use your taunt and something like that to force them off the Nexus turrets, then maybe you delay that way as well. Regardless, Immortals get some extra kills off of it. They also return back and finally do claim that Elder Dragon.
It's a 3-stack as well for themselves. With those 3 previous Drakes they had picked up, a lot of burn here, and with an Ezreal and the poke that they have, it's going to be very meaningful.
2 minutes now. CLG have to play some pretty immaculate defense, or Immortals going to run straight through the base.
And Baron is what they're going to try to look for to help them run through the base.
I think this is contestable.
Smithy's on the other side, though. Smithy has a place where he's out of vision.
He's
trying to go for it!
How could I? Oh my God! Smithy steals it from Immortals.
And they got Pobelter!
CLG, the medic to get it. Darshan looks up to in the backline. Huni melts there as Immortals.
What? Are you kidding me? CLG are going to take the team fight, and now they're having Bear, but they can run him through after.
And Reignover's trying to buy time. He's trying to cut the minion wave so that they can't push up. They have super minions down here. It's going to be a little bit harder to push than they want, but Darshan is so tanky. If CLG put their minds to it, maybe they can still accomplish it.
They're looking to at least claim Reignover's life here as they close in on him. 6A doesn't hit the snare, though.
Reignover's just buying time. Hooney's back in base safe as well. Reignover, I think, is going to die here still, but he's bought plenty of time.
Yeah, exactly. 20 seconds on Pobelter, and CLG aren't going to be able to push a turret off of this just yet. They might be able to get that bottom, but that buys time, and we're going to get another fight, gentlemen.
What a back and forth series here. Everyone thought it was going to be a landslide with CLG being underdogs, and Immortals going to show back up in the third place match, just like in spring when they righted the ship and they easily dispatched. But CLG pushing up on the turret. They're going to use that Baron buff and get some more gold.
I apologize for ever doubting CLG's late game, even if I think that the comp may have slightly favored Immortals, because CLG going to knock down another turret. Immortals still, I think, maybe 1 or 2 with the Elder Dragon buff, but they're going to break straight through bottom lane here. Immortals, they're not back up. Reignover still down for 25.
Yeah, with that Lich Bane, they just shred through these structures, and they get that inhibitor so quickly, they're able to just back off.
Have to get out, though. Hooney going to try and chase. He's very sticky.
You never just back off against the Immortals, I guess. Hooney looking to keep him around, but they are going to do just that.
Let's see this. Pobelter ends up getting picked off here at the very beginning of the fight. Let's look very closely at how that happened, because it's such a good entrance here for Big Smithy. Really saves this right here. Pobelter, okay, what happens? 490 gets shot there. Down, knocked up, blown up. He jumps in and gets his full combo on him, and Aphromoo had knocked him up at the same time with the Braum ultimate, and it's clean up from there.
They were able to stun lock. He didn't get off any of the healing, didn't get off the Zhonya's. Actually, I didn't check the timer on the Zhonya's. Might have been down from that previous team fight, if we'll go back and look at that replay. Regardless, though, what an intense game. Now both teams down an inhibitor. Baron buff barely about to time out here for CLG.
Yeah, you're right. He still had it up, Kobe.
Okay.
48 minutes now, almost on the clock. As this game has gone late, the gold is still very close, but sadly irrelevant at this stage of the game. It's all execution when we get this late.
And we have seen CLG, MSI, gold deficits at this point in the game against Team Liquid, even at the Elder Dragon, coming back from a deficit of 10,000 gold. They are even right now, and they're going to try to prove that they have the team fight and get themselves one step closer to Worlds.
Meanwhile, Immortals looking for redemption again for a second split in a row. They don't want to stop here. They want that third place.
This is just insane. Like, this is game 3, the closest game we've had, incredibly tense. This determines almost everything for the rest of the series.
Immortals definitely need these championship points too. This is very important to them.
Well, CLG going to try and maybe play spoiler with an incredible Baron steal from McSmithy. Immortals are peeking around, trying to find a flank. They may have caught Hooney, but Hooney maybe have caught them. Touchdown, moving back in. A 6 second of open fire. Pobelter, he's the man they need to kill. Hooney moving back in, but Pobelter pops the Zhonya's. Immortals still chasing in. Is Hooney going to go down? Maybe Hooney chases him down. Immortals, maybe have done it. Smithy going to get blown up here in the front lines, and CLG must retreat.
Yep, he is down. They have to get out of there. Smithy also going to follow him shortly after the GA, and Hooney's still chasing him off.
And Pobelter didn't go down there. They tried to focus everything into him because it worked last time, but he ends up getting off his Zhonya's and an 1800 heal.
Oh, look at this. They just used the sweeper on the side of the screen here. CLG lying in wait. They're looking at any opportunity to catch Immortals by surprise because they know now they're down in numbers and their base is wide open.
Stixay needs to have one real big play if they're going to maybe hold this here. Immortals, I think, can push in to try and end. The death time is counting down relatively quickly. Smithy and Who will be back to reinforce in a second, and Immortals do have to chew through this inhibitor first.
It might just be a double inhibitor take for Immortals. Let's see if they decide to try for Nexus or take the second one.
They already have one Nexus turret down from previous.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of time here.
Darshan is so tanky. He's actually just buying as much time as he needs to here. He's still running interference, but Immortal's going to go for it here.
Apple's trying to block the turret from Wild Turtle.
Nick say no, that's not where you want to be. Reignover knocks him back in, but there's no one there to collect him. He has to go to aim. Action, getting on top of Immortal. Going to look to end the Wild Turtle. Finding his way around. And Immortals, they get it in 3.
That size says it all. Immortals claim victory, but whoa, it was intense. Very close there.
Bold call as well. Muscle it down. They won the previous fight, and that's what it came down to. 50-minute game.
Neither team has backed down from any calls all series long.
And man, talk about momentum killers. Immortal's going to feel on top of the world after clutching out that game. Turtle, in his home country, comes up clutch to push them up 2-1 in this series, but we are very far from done here. CLG were seconds away from taking that game.
And CLG, despite not winning this match, have still shown this is a damn series right now. This is game three, you know, even the entire time. Comes down to team fights, execution. Huhi actually playing a little bit out of his mind in that game. And honestly, Huni didn't die the entire time.
I mean, I just want to list everybody's name off.
Yeah,
Belter, this Vladimir has been so huge for them as well. Whew.
Well, we need to catch up.
Keep it going. More,
Game 4. So let's pass it back to Rivington for analysis and highlights.
Thank you very much, guys. Great cast so far and great play from both teams. It's absolutely amazing to see what's already come out on the Rift here in the Air Canada Center, and it's only going to get better. Now Immortals moves on to game point, but to look at this game, again from picks and bans, we saw Immortals go to red side, try to get their S-tier picks, and then everything started off slow again.
I mean, listen, we have a whole lot of data here on this game, and none of it has been useful. This game is so crazy. I can't believe how many calls are happening, how many things are happening back and forth. It's just so much to handle, and it's so aggressive, but there are instances where we'd like to see the teams go for a little bit more of a finesse, but regardless, it's just so exciting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I can't stand still when I'm watching the games. I'm just like,
We were all just freaking out. There's like 10 different times that it seemed like the game was over, and it's just play after play after play. These guys are never stepping back from it, and Mortals Link's the last one. They get the win, but it was a hell of a game.
Absolutely crazy. You want to jump right into the replays in this. The 840 dive in the bot lane. We see the Caston coming out. I'm sure that was questioned in picks bans, but CLG is already trying to start things off in a game they want to scale.
and this is exactly what CLG needs to be doing. Their comp is so good at diving bot lanes with the Shen ult coming in, the Caston roams, the Rek'Sai roams. They have so much mobility to get to places on the map that they should keep doing this. And I think it was a massive mistake from CLG to put their bot lane mid and keep it there for so long. They can go top and do the same kind of play over and over, which is what you see teams generally do, but it seemed like they got caught up on the fact they have a Caston and a 1-3-1.
The best part about that play they made is that they had double TPs and they didn't use them. That means that they can make that repeat play even without the Shen ulti over and over again, because you can easily get that priority mid lane, just give Cassid and blue buff, make the play happen. But we never saw that happen again. It was only a one-time deal. It worked so well, why not return to it?
Yeah, we saw it actually kind of flood over into CLG feeling like they were very strong. 19 minutes in, there was a Dragon 4-for-1, and that lane split team all grouped up to fight.
And I mean, we saw what it looks like when it goes right, and now we can see what it looks like when it doesn't go so hot. And I mean, you know, Huhi pushing him out, now they just have to disengage, right? This is fine. Sure, you have to blow the flash, but they turn around. Smithy, I don't even know if he actually meant to tunnel back in here. Looked like a bit of a misclick to me, but he goes in, they re-engage, and still at this point, maybe you can still get out. But then Huhi goes back in, and look on the left side of the screen, as Stixxay's not able to get involved whatsoever. Their AD carry is not in the fight. They're just getting so split up, and this was a very bad fight from CLG.
And even before the fight started, CLG has priority in the top lane. Who he would have to burn his ultimate or TP to go topside. So if you just back off the play, you have priority. You can get either the top turret or a free dragon. Regardless, it's the same mistake we saw happen in the previous game.
Gain an advantage on one side of the map before forcing these fights where everybody's going to pile in, and you know that you'll then gain an advantage after the team fight, regardless of how big the outcome is.
And it's very actually difficult to judge when you need to push in and when you can't, because sometimes you have to push in when your team says we want to go for a fight here in about 30 seconds, whereas if the other team is trying to do that and you're pushing in, well, you're on their side of the map, you're going to get destroyed. And we saw that happen one time to Huhi. Otherwise, everybody was really playing it quite well.
And it's not that easy. We saw Darshan and Huni trading blows, fighting over the ability to push those in over and over, pretty much the entire game. Plus, we saw in the late game there that one crucial player where Huhi did follow up and try to kill Pobelter, chunked him really low, but chased a little bit too far, and you give a lot of momentum over to the other team. So very, very precarious, and you do get to these late game situations where it is so close.
Well, I just have a feeling we're going to get a fifth game, but if that's the case, CLG need to win this one. We'll see what happens here in the drop for game number 4. Rumble, of course, instantly banned away. We'll see what adaptations CLG have, and I think the Vlad just has to go.
Yeah, I think as well the Vladimir has been a big problem for them, unless they're going to pick something like a Cassiopeia into it and hard counter it, because Immortals have shown that they do not mind picking their solo lanes blind if they are Echo and Vladimir.
Respect still to Aframu though, as Bard will continue to be banned throughout the entire series. Really respecting his prowess on the champion here. Seems like they are going to take it a little slower here in the champs. I can't really blame them.
These are the slowest that we've seen the bans go by today so far.
Yeah, first couple are those target bans, and then they're getting now down to how many of these high tier picks do I want to give over? You know, the Gangplanks, the Vladimirs, these type of things, these first pick champions, because this is a reason why, you know, Immortals did choose to have red side in the last game when the choice was there, and now CLG still going to be on blue.
Yeah, CLG selected blue side for this, even though red side has won every single time so far. And it's not necessarily because of counter picks or anything like that. They just think that, you know, they favor themselves getting a high priority champion here. And I'm interested to see if CLG go for another Rek'Sai first pick. And there it is.
Cheer goes up for a ban. Very rarely would we hear cheers for bans, but the Vladimir, CLG adapting here, take that one out.
Yep, they dropped the Sivir ban for that. So Immortals, see if they pick that one up or if it gets first picked here by CLG.
Well, now, of course, also targeted away. What do Immortals have in store for this final ban here? Looks like it's Syndra, actually.
Oh, so they dropped the Gnar ban for the Syndra here. So the Gnar was first picked every single game in the Team Liquid series by Darshan on CLG. So they don't mind first picking.
Gnar, Echo, still up also, and Huni has been very happy to go into that champion and that matchup specifically as well.
Rek'Sai as well. It's been one of CLG's big picks on the blue side, trying to deny it away from Rainova. I do feel like Gragas and in general, Rainova's shown up pretty well in the series, so you probably can't pinch him there. And CLG, they are taking a long time.
And this is going to be really interesting. If you first pick Gnar, you give over Rek'Sai Sivir, and then you pretty much have to take Karma at that point, or else you give up the Sivir Karma lane, which is still really strong.
Definitely don't want to give over all the speed boosts. Immortals definitely have been focusing on that, and it's been a reason, you know, they talked about as well, how Immortals very slippery. It's hard to pick them off, even if you do bring a bunch of globals. And there though, the renewed focus still on Rek'Sai.
Again, I will point out that I do love how much time his teams are taking, especially in the bans. It's very important to reset, to calm yourself down, Immortals. They'll be riding high and Seal to feel a bit of a blow, because there's the Gnar and Sivir picks there for Immortals.
Exactly. I thought if you take the Gnar, they'll take Sivir Rek'Sai. Or you take the Rek'Sai, they'll slot Gnar right into that, seeing as Gangplank already off the table. And Rumble as well, which, you know, Huni is happy to play pretty much every single time he could.
CLG considering this would be a... We talked about Game 2 being such an important kind of pivotal point in the series. Game 4, of course, being important here for CLG. If they do want to try and force a final.
Yeah.
Preparation's important, right?
Game point, definitely important.
Thank
or
you.
series point.
And it's most likely to Shen again, which has been for Darshan every single game so far.
So she again is making sure that, you know, remain calm, remain patient. So we'll likely see Shen. I wonder what else CLG though have in mind.
They've picked Jhin around this time as well when they've been playing it in the past. They may go with an Ashe into Sivir, see what happens, but it's still, they've been favoring that Jhin. And these are two of the 80 carries that have not been favoring Jhin during the regular season.
So while they do switch it up in bans and ban out the Vladimir, they're still going to use their same strategy.
Alrighty.
For counter logic gaming. Ooh, very quick, actually. Lock in there. That's what we've been looking for, the Cassiopeia to make her appearance. It took a long time for her to show up, but this has been highly anticipated pick, at least for us when we were doing our pick ban analysis, and we'll see who he can use to deal with this. In the past, he has had problems dealing with his champion, and a lot of solo kills have come at the hands of Cassiopeia.
Yeah, and Cassiopeia, Cobelter's first game on it, I would think that you pick Talia into it, who has not been seen on the ban list at all today, which was really highly banned against Immortals in their previous series. Or highly prioritized. They were first picking it pretty much every time they could.
Yeah, if you look at it a little bit, but then you kind of get worried about the damage output later for the game. Because Talia is also kind of like Shen with that strategy where you want to push up and then
I love it.
Somewhere else. Yes! Oh, the Vel'Koz finally! Well, it's been a long time. I've been waiting since the buffs after the mage rework, because the mage rework kind of hurt Vel'Koz a lot. But then the buffs after that really pushed him up to the top, and he has so much damage. We talk about lacking damage output. Vel'Koz does not do that. The thing he does lack is mobility and escape. So once again, CLG, they're opting with a similar strategy. They have 2 carry. They split the carries at 1 AD and 1 AP, obviously, but they're very, very low mobility, very prone to ganks. Very susceptible to extra pressure. We will see if Shen is enough to keep that backline safe, though, with the Stadium Knights that have been coming in for them.
How long have you been waiting for that Velcro spiel?
Literally like 3 months.
First it was your Alawi spiel, now it's your Velcro, something about, tentacle champions. Kobe.
But honestly, though, let's just go over some of those buffs. Because Vel'Koz, the thing about Vel'Koz, he puts out so much true damage. Everything in his kit, just you can stack up the passive thing so you can get extra true damage output, and he'll burn through a front line, he'll burn through any champion that stands in his way. So you have to be very careful. The other thing, lots of wave clear. That was one thing CLG did lack before, but you rank that up very early on Vel'Koz, and he should be able to clear those out.
Yeah, and Vel'Koz just overall, like you said, a lot of damage, but low mobility. Pillar comes out as the last thing. Trundle picked up here. We can interrupt the ultimate with the Trundle Pillar, put himself at risk and see if Adrian goes for that. But he can't also. These are actually 2 damage dealers for CLG that have to stand their ground with their ultimates. The Vel'Koz and the Jhin. They need to find a good position because if Huni makes it to the backline again, he could interrupt both of them. He can actually blow them up and see what happens here.
Yep, definitely true.
Well, we are looking through your photo submissions on Twitter and want to see more. Show us how you LCS by tweeting your pick to @Level Esports using that hashtag LOCKIN. Fingers crossed you guys might get one more game to post those tweets, but just in case you don't, make sure you get them in early. And of course, you can keep using the team hashtags there as well.
Hashtag Vel'Koz win, hashtag tentacle power.
I don't know if we actually own that hashtag.
Yeah, that might be something we don't want to go into. Definitely not Vel'Koz skin picked up here, though.
I love it.
For who he, so
Another day
just
at the
kidding.
office.
Yeah.
Gotta take his coffee
Gotta
cup
be
and
some
a
other
walk.
champion.
Alrighty, back on the Summoner's Rift here. CLG vs Immortals has been quite the series so far. We'll see if CLG can answer back, or if Immortals will clinch that 3rd place here by taking the game.
And just one more thing about that Vel'Koz. We keep going back to it. Just final thing for right now is how much practice do you actually get playing against a Vel'Koz? It's not that popular of a champion right now. And the thing is you have to know your matchups. You have to know your Talia into her. You have to know your Cassiopeia into her. And the question is, how much has Pobelter had on this champion against that?
Look at this, though. We might finally get some action 1v1 or level 1 with the Braum here on CLG side. They're going for it.
Sean needs to look for a taunt, I think. Does flash out, will reign over, gets himself to safety, but Adrian now the next target. 6A, plenty of damage here at level 1. The Slime from Vel'Koz is going to stop Huni, and it's a scuffle, but no one goes down.
Ooh, they do give up on it. They got a couple of flashes out of it. So jungler and support flashes. Those are 2 of the biggest playmakers. Yeah, the Ghost was also burned, but very short cooldown on that, and the mid lane should feel a bit more comfortable. I have to say, though, on that mid lane matchup, this just kind of exacerbates the issue that Hui has had with Cassiopeia. Vel'Koz, if he gets caught by one of those poisons and Pobelter speeds up, all you have to do is dodge the delay of that knock up from Vel'Koz, and you can go in for the kill because very low mobility.
Yeah, the Tectonic Disruption has that cast time, travel time on it. And all they had to do on CLG side was give up an exhaust for it. So it's not even like a jungler's playground for Reignover where there's these flashes that are down. Where Smithy, now he can go invade, he can go visit the bottom lane and flash knock up and possibly pick himself up a kill.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of bad for Immortals because Reignover on the Elise was one thing we're looking for to try and pressure mid lane. This mid lane matchup is going to be so fun because it is so much about skill shots landing or missing and then what you do afterwards, because everyone keeping track of the small cooldowns, keeping track of the short cooldowns in these trades, definitely very big. When is your opportunity to try and go for that harass?
Well, everyone does join up with their lanes now, but it's pretty fitting that who he has really been the man in this series for CLG, Darshan. 4 straight Shen games in a row now. 6A, relatively consistent on his champions and playing very well. Hui's been the one that's changing champions up that we kind of needed to see something a little more from. And he has shown up in this series, and he will need to really go off if he's going to push CLG to a last game.
The man put out 1,200 DPM.
Gotta do it again, man.
You're like, show me more. Get that 1,500, baby.
Yeah, and he doesn't even do that much damage during the early parts of the game, but that game was incredibly long, so the Cassidy was able to power up. But Hui has been having a great day, honestly. Even his game 1, he was looking right on point as well.
Oh, and here again, we have so much continued focus on teamwork to get control of this vision, to get these Scuttle Crabs down, and ensure that both the bottom lane and the mid lane can play with a little bit more of an aggressive style. We can already see once again CLG's bottom lane sticks and Aframu shoving them into the lane to force Sivir CS under turret, and trying to get some harass down on them as they do it.
Bit of poke there from CLG's duo. As you can see, Huni also was stacking up a big wave there versus Darshan, so should have the early advantage in the lane, and seems to so far. Haven't seen too much of the mid lane just yet, but like you said, there's so much intricate stuff going on. It really just is the farm and damage that traded back and forth. It's unlikely without jungler intervention that we'll see a kill.
Whoa, what a trade here from CLG.
Oh, really nice there, Adrian. Gotta be a bit careful. We'll get out to safety, but CLG handily win that.
That Unbreakable from Aframu doing so much work in the trade, blocking a tremendous amount of damage, and CLG do come out ahead. Meanwhile, though, it has been the opposite story. Immortals control over top lane. This has been consistent for Huni, and he's trying to push it in once again. Reignover does make his visit, but not quick enough to snag that scuttle away from Smithy.
And Huni's just had pressure the entire time, like you said. He's got that fervor of battle, so he's just constantly wailing away at Darshan, and Darshan actually had to use his teleport already because he got pushed out of lane by this Gnar that is just unrelenting.
This matchup does get, scary once Gnar does get the frozen mallet as well. But that is a long time away from us at the moment. First break point we're going to look for is the level 6, of course.
Another early TP from Darshan as well. Does get in the lane safely as Huhi gets himself the blue buff.
Yep. Of course, the Rek'Sai doesn't have to take it, give it over, so Huhi now has a lot of pressure in this lane and keep throwing out his spells. And against the Cassiopeia, honestly, she's got a mana bar, but when she's CSing, she's not really a mana-based champion. She just gets mana back from using Twin Fangs in the last hit. She gets healing, so she's a big kind of sustained champion in the lane. It's hard to push her out.
Good trade again from Darshan, actually, as he taunts Huni into that big cannon wave. Again, certainly knows his limits in these matchups, and Darshan has been consistent and impressive, especially landing versus Huni 1v1. Huni, though, probably just going to use that TP, much like Darshan did, to give himself a bit of an edge in lane, and we expect Gnar to take over. We'll see if Huni can do it again, because he could do it on Echo, but he couldn't quite do it on Gnar.
Yeah, and look at that, why he was going so far back to get his recall off. Darshan looking to try and interrupt him, but here we go on the bottom side. What a pillar.
Oh, well, Turtle doesn't quite get the spell shield down. There's an Ogre from Xmithy. First blood looking to go over to Stixay. Bloodthorn is not enough. Stixay flashes in, and he claims it.
And Aframu lives. Stixay heals right there, and they get out afterwards. Another big move for CLG in the bottom lane. Smithy controls the Scuttle Crabs, gets off the first gank. It's because Reignover went for it early back there on the Elise, but Smithy has been outperforming Reignover in this series.
Yeah, Reignover actually has had a lot of his team's deaths. One of the first ones in Game 1, one of the first ones in Game 3 being First Blood, and honestly, like 3 of the deaths that he had previously in Game 2.
CLG justifying their focus on the first pick Rek'Sai. Smithy controls both of the Scuttle Crabs, knows he has vision advantage, even though Adrian had a good pillar there. It's Aframu who gets in for the playmaking.
Yeah, and at this point, Adrian doesn't have his exhaust. He had used it previously, so he doesn't have that summoner spell available to exhaust Stixay to stop some of that damage, to actually nullify a bit of that crit.
Well, Huni's going to return to the top lane. Doesn't quite go mega. Darshan is trying to hold the wave as best he can. Huni does have the phage parts built up after going back and did teleport back to lane as well. So things should be getting a bit better here. Darshan has also snuck in it back by the looks of things, and the mid laners are building mana items. So should see things pretty quiet there.
Yeah, sneaky little Pobelter has got a pretty sizable CS lead over Huhi actually up in this 1 versus 1, having the junglers both show on opposite sides.
Looking good so far. Pobelter pretty casually CSing these. You mentioned it already, Zyrene, Cassiopeia. Pretty straightforward when it comes to taking those minions.
It's free low.
Yeah, sometimes. As Xmithy waddles his way in, gets the ward down, and Reignover instantly spots the pink ward.
Nice pink ward, thank you for the gold.
It's unfortunate.
Did pop his Raptor buff though.
Yep.
There's- all right.
Found out where he was.
Didn't have his trinket up, unfortunately, so no options there. Tried to get some vision. You can see Xmithy is, again, keeping track of Reignover, which has been great all series long.
And he's been doing it without Sightstone, too. He's been using the Tiamat as his early clear item here, and it's also something that he might have just been gravitating towards, and that's why the Rek'Sai is a first pick for him. It's just got such a high clear time now, and it's very versatile, and it denies it from Reignover.
Meanwhile, Adrian has been putting in the work with the wards in the river on the bottom side so that they don't get a repeat visit from Smithy. Meanwhile, mid lane
Oh
though.
my god, Pobelter, good ultimate, going to try and turn it around, but Smithy's here. That'll force Pobelter away.
Oh yeah, I think Pobelter wasn't sure if Smithy had flash or not. Had to get out of there after that one, but look at that. Talk about no fear. Neither of these teams ever backing down. He runs straight through the Vel'Koz ultimate into his face to get the Cassiopeia ultimate off. If that was a 1-for-1, would have been able to have it, but he knew that he had Smithy in the wings.
Yeah, but because they push Pobelter off of it, that's going to leave the blue buff up, and Hui's able to take that. This Vel'Koz just really needs this.
Again, Smithy. This is Smithy affecting all of the bottom side of the map here. They've abandoned their Shen top, and Darshan's been fine with that, and the rest of CLG are flourishing.
Yeah, I have to agree. Darshan has really been soaking the majority of the punishment in top lane, but CLG is certainly playing around Stixxay well. Nice little trade there. The Drake was attempted by CLG as well, but they pull off the Ocean Drake. A little ambitious, but testing the waters perhaps there for Immortals. And CLG, again, their constant proactivity and how confident they've seemed when they've been playing this series has been the most impressive thing to me.
Yeah, and I'm always very quick to talk about Aframu and his in-game leadership, and he really is and has been for a very long time one of the NA greats. But Smithy as well, it is multiple people shot calling for CLG, adding information always is both teams. But Smithy also does play a big part in that. And I have to say, in comparison, the amount of effect that Smithy has had, especially in this game, in comparison to the Elise of Reignover, tremendous advantage there.
He's done a fantastic job of neutralizing Reignover and making sure he doesn't have that same impact. Because when you think about Immortals, for the entire split, and even Spring, it's like Huni and Reignover, right? And then the bottom lane is what they sack. Well, now, that's not really the case. The focus from CLG is on that bottom lane, and Reignover and Huni aren't able to get off the ground. Huni is pretty much punching a brick wall on the top lane this entire series in Darshan and not getting the advantages that he really wants as a player. But Reignover at the same time doesn't have the ability to really help him out and push that even further, so he's kind of stagnant right now.
Meanwhile, mid lane, Pobelter earning his own advantages once again. This is the most camped mid laner in all of the North American LCS, has the most enemy jungler proximity. Yet now he's on Cassiopeia, you should. Well, he's gonna camp it.
Hui's gonna get the knockoff. That's an easy alley-oop.
I'm sorry, Pobelter.
The Pastor curse, Kobe.
I mean, you're not wrong.
But still, they get the Vel'Koz an early kill, and so that's going to set them up to do damage to this turret and take this down for that first turret gold.
Did feel like CLG kind of got mired in the last game and maybe slowed it down a little too much. This time, nice and proactive with the ultimate there from Darshan. And they're going to get the mid turret as well. A huge burst of momentum for CLG early in this fourth.
Consistent early game control here from Counter Logic Gaming, and this is going to be no different. There is also a 10 CS lead, not very big, but is there for Stixxay in the bottom lane as he starts to build towards his Ghost Blade.
This is the ulti. He's going to use it. Reignover, nice cocoon. He'll be pressuring the Elise.
Chunks him out, makes sure that he might have to back here or at least be on the opposite side of the jungle for a bit and heal up.
Yeah, it's a pretty short cooldown, plus he does have blue buff right now, so it's going to be even shorter. And we'll have it for the next time they all in mid lane. Pobelter has to be much more cautious about that since Hui's had so much support with Smithy coming up multiple times and the Shen Stand United already on display.
And Hui was one of the least camped mid laners for himself as well. He didn't even pull a whole bunch of attention from the enemy jungle all season long. Teams were winning against CLG by going to their side lanes, but now you can't go top. Darshan's playing too defensive. You can't go bottom because Darshan shows up.
Well, I mean, you can see Smith has also been visiting that bottom lane. Nice knife from Huni, but it's just for a bit of damage. Darshan does get the W off in time, and Huni gets some damage. He's also winning in CS. Like, this lane is going the way Immortals expected to, but like you said, Darshan is just soaking it all up.
We'll see if that does start to change as we get closer and closer to that frozen mallet. There is some damage on this turret. You see Huni is slowly whittling away at it as well. But as of right now, yeah, Darshan happy to pick up all of those CS under turret as well.
Doing what he needs to do, really. And we've got some early purple spikes there from CLG's carries as well. Huhi, quick Morellonomicon, so very efficient mid lane item, and Vel'Koz kind of wants all the things it gives. And the Ghost Blade already done for Stixxay, who got the first blood there as well, and had a share in that first tower gold. Stixxay is again set up to have a big performance this game, and CLG is showing that they're happy to play around him, and when they do, it's usually the right idea.
Oh. Aha, he sees the dragon take off.
Not this time. Ooh, actually, maybe they'll follow in something here. Adrian Oh, he's fine. Does get tapped by Aframu. Stixay.
Going after Rainover because they have Vel'Koz on this side. If they can get him low enough.
Oh, Rainover does repel out of the way, but it might not be enough here. Damage is still coming in. Aframu commits the ultimate for it as well. That's a little keen. The geometry is not there for the Vel'Koz, and Rainover lives.
That's still 3 ultimates, though, to try and attempt to kill Rainover. So Immortals actually have a little bit more priority on Dragon if they're able to have Rainover back and get back here. So you have to pick it now if you're CLG.
Yeah, Rainover is delaying the back right now. Actually cancels it.
Oh, that goes over to Smithy. Is now Aframu going to get stunned up. Pobelter actually doing a nice job. Stixay heals, and he might just be enough to live. Doesn't quite get the snipe, but Adrian does take down Aframu and Rainover. Oh, the trap!
Deathfire touch, and the trap spawns the Marcus Grave.
Pretty good Keystone Mastery since so many people die to a random
where did that come from?
It's like 4 seconds long as well, so it'll tick for a good while.
Well, a trade there, I suppose. Stixay, it's the ultimate snipe.
Like that,
Kills him without even shooting him.
It's like that. Cool guys don't look at explosions. You walk away.
Talk about the tension, though. Pastry literally jumped, by the way, up into the air at that kill. Immortals, though, refocus on this game. They're taking the objective afterwards. Turret goes down. They're going to get that extra global gold. CLG looking to collapse on them and not let them escape.
But Huni almost has ultimate here. This might be a mistake from CLG.
Huni, I think, he's going to face check a Mega Narek. Smithy going to try and save him with the Gnar. Lands on the 3 wall followers as well. Huni! Big play, but he does go down. Now Darshan, we're going to try and chase it down. Toto going to get himself tagged, and Pobelter's in a whole host of trouble. Flash not going to make it. Ultimate opens up. Stixay gets the snipe. Looking for more, but he's not going to find any more fish.
Take it back. It's a mistake there for Immortals to stick around. Low mana on Pobelter, and everybody showed up as if they were going to brawl, but no one even in sight that it could actually help them.
Jen is such a good pick versus Immortals.
Oh, yeah.
As we're seeing this game play out and the entire series play out, this has been the consistent strength that CLG have been playing to. To a team that wants to constantly fight, if you have the extra global there from your top laner and the ability to actually hold up in the 1 versus 1 as well, it really means a lot for them, and they do stand united down bottom to get the turret answer.
Yeah, and we're seeing the Gangplank banned every single time on that red side, so you're safe to pick that Shen. Gnar is pretty much the other bad matchup for it, and I thought that this was what was going to be banned in Game 2, but it's been picked by Darshan every single time. He's been able to get his hands on it, and Immortals have just left it up, and it's been incredibly effective every single time. They don't expect this to happen. Huni dedicates himself to it, but look at that double taunt.
Yeah, so even though, Huni does make a good heads-up play here to get the 1 kill onto Huhi, however, the reason CLG pick all this up, they have basically 5 members. With the ability of Jhin to add extra damage from long range and steal that kill, secure that kill, that was pretty much all 5 members taking part in it. Meanwhile, Rainover was not a participant in that battle.
I actually think it's really smart that they gave that over to Stixay. Like, let me ulti, let me finish him off. Because of the fact that it's been a 2-threat composition from CLG every single time, and Huhi was already dead. So give it over to the one that's left, give it over to Stixay, and so that's why he's 3-0-1 right now. He's been getting so much help.
Definitely agree. That was why their Game 1 was so successful for Counter Logic Gaming. Once you get out ahead in a flat armor penetration build and people are trying to catch up because you have another very big magic damage threat, it's very difficult.
Well, this is the new one. Huni actually might get even more of a lead in this top lane. Did get the tower in the replay, I believe, but Rift Herald, which we've barely seen at all today on Summoner's Rift, is actually going to go over to Huni.
It's funny because the only time I really see Rift Herald taken now is when it's for a Gnar or against a Gnar. A lot of the times it's just left out to dry, but Gnars really like it for helping their split pushing.
Definitely is interesting seeing CLG's adaptation in this series compared to their previous series versus TSM. Previously versus TSM, Counter Logic Gaming were the ones focusing top. Well, now they're walking all up there with a bunch of people, and they're looking to dive.
I think, except for the wrong reason. But of course, actually does snipe him down. Huni doesn't quite take enough damage because the cocoon from Rainover is clutch.
Oh yeah, Rainover puts himself in danger's way there to stop it. And
he comes to snipe.
Oh, Pobelter got tagged again. Shots in, there's the 4th. Where is it? Chris Pobelter, but it's not enough. CLG will take the turret instead.
Exactly, they pushed them off of the turret. Wild Turtle back in base, so they didn't even have a good wave clear source there, and Pobelter had to be on defense lost Huni there to stop Huni from going down. And now CLG, they're low on Immortal's side. They get to continue to push. They may get a tier 2.
Siege continues. All 5 members have joined, and they are poking down Immortals.
Darshan looks so far forward there. But they're just canceling some backs. Velkor's poke is good here for the Siege. Stixxay gets himself caught in a traffic cone. That should be okay, and CLG is going to keep pushing. If the wave joins him in time, they might get another turret. Looks like they'll back away instead, but Drake up at a minute 20. CLG taking real control of this game.
Huge amount of control. All the outer turrets down now for Immortals, and they have to be a lot more wary, of getting out of position. Stand United back available, plus the teleport for Darshan, so many options for Counter Logic Gaming to try and push the issue and further this gold lead. What I was talking about before, though, the adaptation CLG between this series and their series versus TSM. First TSM, they kept giving up Gangplank, a top laner similar to Zen that absorbs in the top lane, has the wave flare and then the global ult, and they were focusing all their efforts up top, but it didn't work for them. They lost 3-0 to TSM trying to focus top, so now they completely focused. They kind of adapted that strategy. They're the ones focusing bottom. They're trying to play aggressive bottom with, a different global, and it is working out a lot better for them.
Big Stixxay certainly set up to carry this game because the Dustblade is now online. CLG going to have a real big point of strength if Immortals choose to fight them around this Infernal Drake. It's up in 15 seconds. I get the feeling that Immortals maybe don't fancy a fight, but they're not particularly shy about brawling, so maybe I'm wrong there, as Immortals are at least going to clear out the vision in the area.
Yeah, I'm just looking at where the gold is on these teams. The advantage for Stixxay is only about 1,100 right now, and then the other one is CLG. Xmithie is up 1,200 right now over Reignover, so he's just been getting out jungled, and just the assistance that Xmithie's been putting on the map and the pressure definitely, like you've been saying, Kobe, justifies that first pick of a Rek'Sai.
Well, Drake is up, so we'll see if CLG want to take it. Darshan can join when he needs to, but Afro gets caught. Now Reignover actually the one caught in the trap. Propeller's down, he comes straight back towards Xmithie, and that's a flash burn for the Elisa. Stixxay landed up again. Adrian not that tanky, is the support Trundle. Snipe is there! Oh! Stixxay gets another snipe.
Flash in the straight line. He was trying to get out of the distance, the max distance there for the ultimate, but can't get out of it. Maybe if he flashes left, he gets out of that, but gets caught by somebody else. Then he's giving the money over to a different place. Regardless, CLG, they're moving right up mid lane with that.
Yeah, immediately just put their pressure there. They can go turn onto the Infernal Drake, though. That's what they've been going after this entire time, is just trying to get that Drake for themselves and get that smaller advantage, whereas Huni and Darshan still top lane, brawling it out. Not coming into these fights just yet. Hasn't been an opportunity, but there we go. Here comes Huni. Mega Gnar available.
Wow.
Ultimate up.
Where'd Darshan go?
He got interrupted.
All right, we're okay. Oh, never mind, we're not. Xmithie does take it, but Wild Turtle burning low. It's actually Immortals that are in trouble. Cross-map play getting awfully complex. But Darshan does stop the TP, CLG do get the Drake, and Wild Turtle lives to fight another day.
Very big. Darshan went in and he taunted Huni out of that teleport. So now, not only does he have teleport advantage, but he has Stand United, and CLG also were able to claim the Drake. Huge amount of control for them, especially with the map being so open. What they need to do is start moving up some wards so they can make these picks. They have a Jhin ultimate, they have Vel'Koz, really ramping up, so definitely up to them to try and increase this lead.
And you've been talking about how CLG have had an early game advantage in almost every single one of these games. Immortals have struggled to get an early game advantage, even in their semifinal matchup, only having 1 out of those 5 games where they were up early. Same thing is happening here. Immortals just aren't playing the early game well, especially against something like a Shen. They seem to be a little bit paralyzed in their early aggression, and when they get a little too overzealous, they're punished for it.
I feel like the name of the game right now for meta is Globals. Jungler influence also cannot be overlooked.
We got to throw that in there. Junglers, we're still relevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Junglers, in a lot of ways, are kind of the global you always have. They're exerting constantly throughout the map. I got you.
The human global. That is honestly why a lot of junglers started jungling as, their main, right? It is a lot about the mind games of guessing where your enemy is, trying to figure that out, what you can do to deny extra information. And speaking of the devil, there they go, exchanging a few blows over the all-important ward.
Yeah. It was either that reason for starting jungle, or it was, all these other junglers suck. Let me do this.
Really? For me, it was like, I'd try this. I don't know how to CS. Oh, that's even too hard. Xmithie gets himself exhausted. Tunnels out to safety. The network's there to save his bacon. Immortals clear out the pink ward, though. Baron is a technical threat, but looks like teams are trying to secure vision on this side, with Drake being down.
I think you can really tell that Immortals are on edge after that last play. That was a very quick exhaust on a wreck side that you had not seen use tunnel, plus has tunnels in the area. So Immortals are feeling the heat here as CLG, even though it's not a huge insurmountable gold lead or anything, the pressure on the map, the momentum here of CLG really denying a lot of the vision and moving in with the siege here is getting to Immortals.
Here comes the poke again. We've got the Vel'Koz, we've got the Jhin. Immortals just have to get themselves zoned out of the way here. Last shot lands. It actually does tag Pobelta. Decent amount of damage there, but things are okay for now. Stixxay not quite where he was in that first game, but he's starting to approach real points of power.
Yeah, the hinge that Immortals need to get to is that Huni can actually really make some work. Uh-oh, they get a cocoon!
Oh, Afro moves in to save him. And Huni's now going to get himself out of the way. Cassiopeia throws out the ulti, but I think it was just the deep end. Rainover getting himself chunked out as Xmithie wants it. He chases forward, but that's a little too aggressive. Cocooned in there as Immortal to send upon him. But Darshan moves in with the Stand United to try and save him. And CLG always have each other's backs.
That means they give up their pressure bottom. Huni is actually not taking the turret, though. He was recalling here. Okay, now they signal him, hey, stop. You can get a little bit of extra work done. I think it's too dangerous to stick around, though, because CLG do back off after that display. Nobody dying in the exchange, though.
Yeah, it's just a back and forth trading over and over again. The wave clear as well. Immortals, yeah, Huni sticks around, gets a little bit more damage here. He could have had more.
Yeah, I mean, look, toggle the vision on the map right now, because the Immortals' vision is very, very slim. They do see, that's actually, yeah, that's a, there we go.
But
now Jin's coming down and they don't see him coming.
Exactly, they don't see Jin coming.
Oh, Duskblade proc, see ya, Huni.
Yeah, he had used his hop to get more attack speed on the turret. It has a little buff on it that not a lot of people are very conscious of. You hop, you get a little bit of attack speed from it, and instead uses it to not escape, so he has to wait for it so long.
Yeah, Immortals kind of falling apart here in the late stages. Crucial calls, you know, sticking around, trying to get that turret. That thing had a lot of health, and CLG make a pretty easy collapse to take him down. Again, though, if Immortals to calm down and refocus in this game, they're not that tremendously far behind that they can't get back. They've got a Sivir. They have Cassiopeia. Like, they have plenty of damage for the late game and a decent front line.
It just feels like this is the toughest point in the game for Immortals to get through, because CLG, they're playing with pressure, and their poke and siege is ridiculous with the Vel'Koz and the Jhin.
Oh yeah, and the Jhin is 5-0 and 1 right now. He has all of the kills on his team that where they need them. He's only missed out on 2.
Well, we might have another scuffle on our hands. Immortal's going to force something. Huni with a good flank, but he needs to build the rage. Ultimate out there from, not quite yet, as Xmithie dives in. Afro trying to protect Hui, but he does get sniped. Damage is still on the back on it. Stixxay open fires while Turtle wants to target. That's the target he wants to try and snipe. Waiting patiently for the balls, but Huni ready with the bagging up. Misses the crunch over the walls. Rainover does slay Darshan. Stixxay gets out of the ulti and tries to turn it all around, but Turtle still putting the team on his back. Looking good as CLG just dropped that one.
Yeah, Stixxay's been twirling that gun for a while. He's been trying to get that crit off, and they just keep avoiding it. And now Huni gonna get the slow, the frozen mallet.
Has to go. Oh my god! Destroys Rainover as Xmithie getting chased.
You have to respect the crit
Huni's
from
in.
Jhin.
He's in deep. He gets the double. And Immortals, they will not go quietly today.
I told you, man, they just need to calm down, refocus, they get their 5-on-5, good flank from Huni, and they can try and finish off that turret that cost us death.
Oh yeah,
before.
that was calm.
fair.
They do get the turret. The thing's looking good. Let's watch it again.
Yeah, so Huni actually TPs to that pink ward down there, goes around the bottom side, and then he shows himself here, and they look like they're gonna jump on him. Oh, jumps away with the exhaust being used, and he got the slow onto Hui. It's what they needed, and then it just goes from there.
Unfortunately, we aren't allowed to finish any replays because these teams are just fighting too much. Gold nice and even though. The Drake is up, so CLG will consolidate, pick themselves up their third Drake of the game. That is a good little lead here for CLG as they approach kind of the next little breakpoints, but Immortals have closed the gap pretty nicely with the last section of plays, and once again, we find ourselves in this series with a very close game.
Whew, definitely exciting here. All right, let's see how they turn their sights towards Baron, because not only did Immortals get a bunch of gold back after that play and get that bottom turret, but they got time to put up some more wards. You can see now they've got decent control of the river, and they've been moving in here, trying to get the scuttle, but it looks like Xmithie actually still king of the scuttle.
So loops around, zones him off. Throws a Prey Seeker, get out of here.
Rek'Sai's like, come with me, I'm just one of you.
Does manage to corral the crab around, and that will go over to Rainover.
Lures him into Fog of War and kills him. Great. Now they'll never trust again.
Meanwhile, turret goes down in the mid lane. CLG, that Scuttle Crab, you know, maybe it was baiting Xmithie away.
Works out, I guess. The Immortals do take themselves another turret here. Next Drake's an important one, but it's not up for quite a while yet, so teams are going to look to play around the top side, and CLG still have that sideline pressure with the Shen. We'll see how CLG continue to kind of play up in this game.
Yeah, and we're talking about playing up with them. The key damage dealers on this team, Stixay and Huhi. I've been noticing Stixay's build. He did this as well previously. He's the Rapid Fire Cannon third, even though it's an armor penetration build. Gets a little bit of that extended range, and that's what he's looking for is in those extended fights when he's kiting backwards. He wants that last shot, you know, walk a little bit, get that last shot off, have the chance to crit in between.
Things have calmed down quite a bit more. CLG, I think, pumping the brakes because Immortals had such a wonderful display before. Feeling confident, of course. They can't see the gold lead. The Immortals are actually up, but both teams kind of aware of what happened throughout the series, so they are going to play it a little more patiently. Objectives are up, but CLG's Siege, unfortunately, has stopped, which I think is good news for Immortals. They're happy to take the farm sort of as it comes to them and then sort of take over with their Sivir Cassiopeia comp. Still looking for the Vel'Koz though, Kobe, because, again, I had tried to doubt them last time, and they still have plenty of damage.
All right, well, currently, yeah, they want to set up their split push here with Darshan in the bottom side on Shen, so they can make use of the Stand United. Huhi, or Huni, does have a teleport coming off cooldown pretty soon, though, so after they push up mid lane, they can send him back to go handle that wave and handle that push from Darshan, and just collect the minions at the turret.
And it looks like Baron might be on the table soon for Immortals. They're trying to get control of the area, sweep it out a little bit.
Ooh, maybe caught here. Pobel's attacked again. He's magnetized with his bullets, but Adrian's going to face tank him. Not too much damage just yet. Elise repels out of the way, and CLG will push down the mid lane, try and see if they can't take something here. This is the right area to try and control.
Yep, trying to chunk them out before the siege begins. That did take half of Adrian's life. Now, this is a support on the front line, so he is a bit more squishy. No, hasn't built any of his own armor. Just going to be there for the magic resistance aura, though. Meanwhile, bottom lane, they're actually trading kind of heavily on opposite sides.
Yeah, if they can get the inside path onto Huni, though, because right now they can all just run towards him, but that's going to be Immortals running towards the Baron because they want to stop that possibility.
Huni has had also one hell of a series. Up almost 50 CS there. Glimpse of the Void maybe helping out quite a bit. And Darshan, again, he's been kind of taking punches, but Huni's still showing up on champions that we maybe didn't expect as much from him. His Nars looking pretty good so far, and Immortals just want to get over the line and have this series done with CLG. Not particularly interested in that outcome. And we have another close game in our hands as that Drake is up soon-ish.
CLG have to be very careful not to leave Stixay behind. This has happened before, and Stixay has most of the gold. 7 kills all on him on the Jhin. If Immortals can get to the back line, you know, Huni has done this multiple times where he takes out Stixay by himself. That's a huge amount of CLG's power that would not be available. Currently, though, pushing up mid lane again, battling over this mid lane turret.
Burn the ulti onto Adrian, looking to try and get a kill. Not enough there from the passive at CLG. Wide open space to try and take the turret. Immortals, though, easy defense, it seems, between the Sivir and the Cassio.
Yep, that's the big thing about Sivir. Always talking about her wave clear in the mid game here. Definitely easy, and they're trying to stall out. Turtle's working on that Infinity Edge, fairly close to it, can almost touch it.
And when he crests that point, that'll be when those team fights really turn online for Immortals because they already have the Rylai's Crystal Scepter, and Pobelter's looking for that Seraph's Embrace soon so that he can crest and have a little bit more defense available to him. Because he's died the most on his team so far. He's been a prime target. They've been trying to play through mid lane, through that Vel'Koz and pushing up. How many times have they been in that mid tier 2? Actually quite a bit.
Felt like it was all lined up well. He does claim the top side Scuttle Crab, so we'll have key Baron vision for a little while as that Infernal Drake is up now in 1:10. Stixay massacres a poor creep wave there in top lane, and he is just casually sitting in CLG's red side jungle, hoping to find a lucky winner. Although I don't think Darshan was looking for. He's probably a 1v1 just about anyone else.
Darshan's like, I didn't enter that lotto. I don't want to.
I didn't sign up for this at all. I'm assuming he's just going to take the red buff instead. That's his prize. He'll take it, I suppose. And again, Immortals, because they're playing significantly more passive than I'm used to seeing them. Both these teams are treading very carefully.
And it's been a lot of setup for these objectives and then fighting every now and then. There was a very bloody game that had more than a kill per minute previously, but now it's a little bit slower than that. And this Infernal Drake may get some of that action soon, though.
You can understand the care the teams are putting in, though, because the series has gone so back and forth. Teams taking, you know, the necessary precautions here. Nobody wants to throw away a game at a silly point.
Yeah, I mean, this is game point for Immortals. If they take this, they do secure their third spot and the extra championship points. I have to say, this is one of the most exciting third place series that I've ever seen.
CLG lining up for that Drake. It's up right now, but Immortals already in the area to contest. Looks like we are going to have a fight on our hands.
Huni.
They've kind of swapped sides of the map for right now.
Huni doesn't have any rage on Gnar. He is trying to flank around behind, but he's just going to do it as mini, so has to hold his distance once he gets there.
Gets caught by Darshan, but doesn't quite land the taunt. Immortals knocking collapse into the Drake, which they might just happy to take for themselves. They are going to get it here, but Hui doing good damage there. At least not going to quite go down. Rain over there has to be careful. Flashes out, and the Locket's going to save his life. Stixxer uses the ulti to get him. Huni's got to run away as well.
CLG split focus there. They weren't able to chase anyone down, and the pillar does interrupt the tunnel here.
Beautiful. Beautiful pillar.
Not tagged. Immortals actually kind of running a weird way out, but they will get out to safety, and they did claim the Drake.
Rainover having to flash away 3 consecutive times from this Vel'Koz damage, but he got the Drake, and he got out with his life. So mission accomplished there for Private Rainover.
Pretty much the best you can hope for there. To not get taken out by both of the snipers, honestly, because this is just such a long range, sit there, set up, and actually just deal your damage from CLG. They haven't actually really combined them so much yet. That was pretty much the closest we've gotten to both the Vel'Koz and the Jhin.
And it's been such a tense series. Stixxer had a wonderful start to this game, but Immortals have brought it all the way back. It does feel like it really is these two 80 carries fighting against each other here.
Yeah, I have to say, even though nobody died there and people aren't really getting too amped up for that last Drake fight, that was very crucial. That would have been 2 Infernal Drakes stacking up for CLG. Pretty big momentum. Even being down in gold, that's a lot of power, having the extra Drake advantage that they have been able to accrue. But Immortals evening it up towards the late game does really matter for them.
And you always think about a Jhin with more AD. He gets way more than anybody else, so Infernal Drakes are so good on him too.
Starting to feel like we're in for maybe another long game here. Well, almost at 35 minutes here. The next dragon will be Elder. The Immortals are just trying to find the poke their way in, but no one wants to play a little too crazy. In a lot of ways, it feels like CLG inherited Immortals' aggression, and Immortals kind of inherited CLG's macro game, and they've been playing against each other with a ton of push and pull in this series. Again, it's delicate, I think is the right word for it. Even Darshan and Huni in that very even matchup, despite the CS lead that Huni has, Darshan's still done a pretty admirable job.
Yeah, it is a pretty massive lead here, and Huni hasn't really unlocked the map like we've known from Huni in the past, right? He's not playing one of those enormous carries, because Darshan, at the same time, even if he was, is just soaking it. Making sure that he's playing a little bit like Impact was in the series that Immortals played, where you try to play through top lane, they're having none of it. You can't get through that guy. He's just taking the pressure away, and they make plays on other sides of the map. Basically neutralizing a big threat.
Uh-oh, here we go, though. They're collapsing on Pobelter, and Jhin ultimate pops.
Yeah, Pobelter already burnt his ulti as well. They need to tag him, but Pobelter just slithers away in time. That ghost comes up real clutch.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty big cooldown there used. Now, Pobelter did use the Cassiopeia ultimate as well in the disengage. It comes up very quickly, though. They'll be sure to wait for that. That is a crucial part of their team fight, just as much as the Jhin ultimate for CLG. It will be needed.
Huni's pressure is actually starting to mount here. That one Rift Herald may have actually swung enough to at least get some pressure, and like Darshan is struggling a little now.
Yeah, I mean, the Black Cleaver stacks up really quickly on him, so it shreds right through the armor. And then the extra slow there from Frozen Mount makes it hard to maneuver around the turret. Darshan starting to take a beating.
And those extra Rift Herald pops, too, onto the turret to just have that little extra damage.
Like, Huni's actually legitimately pulling pressure. In fact, he
Yeah,
might even try and take this. Darshan's going to rush his way back, but that turret takes a big chunk of damage. Huni going to keep going for it, hops his way out. Very slick. Gets snared up. Oh, no, that's maybe not good. Huni okay, though. Dustblade trigger, not enough to kill him.
Can CLG work with this momentum, though, because that's a huge amount of health.
Whoa, hell, Turtle!
That's a solo kill, too.
Turtle walked in the line of fire there. Huni had made his escape. Well, maybe we'll get a replay of that, because it didn't seem necessary. but both summoners and ultimate use. Yeah. CLG definitely pressing it now.
This is the power play. They have to go, and now they're going to snare one up. They look for Pobelter, but don't find him. Nice ult to disengage with the slow. Doesn't quite tag him. McSmithy flush and borrows onto Pobelter. His dash shot's in there as well. Does get the kill on CLG with 2 key kills.
And now they're going to turn onto that Baron. All they have to do is make sure Rainover doesn't get into that pit and try to get a smite steal. And that could be CLG getting some tools that they need to get these structures and start closing out the game.
Meanwhile, Mortals looking to harass here. Huni is a menace with the frozen mallet, helping them.
Yeah, Darshan actually taking a little too much. Adrian with a nice pillar. Smithy is staying on the Baron. Afro commits the ultimate, but it whiffs. Missing everyone there. And CLG, this is so dangerous.
They're getting softened up.
They have
really
to hard commit to this.
Ulti out again from Vel'Koz, but it's not quite enough damage. Huni very tanky. As Stixay opens fire with the curtain call again. Getting damage on a Huni, but he's trying to take him out. Big crit. But they actually have to pull off the objective now. Immortals successful in stopping CLG. Oh! Stixay! Takes out Huni. And now Rainover going to get caught. CLG turn it back around again. Repel's going to save him. Here comes Wild Turtle. And Stixay again. Such a big play.
Oh my goodness! Just when you think they're done, Phase 3, and they start to disengage, Stixay flashes in with the Jhin. Add another one to the kill count. 8 now for him.
And has that Infinity Edge as well. Just these big crits coming out, and you do not expect that type of damage to come out that quickly. He's doing a really good job of sitting on that crit for when he needs it, and even just hitting minions on the side before he gets to it, and then is saving that shot.
And there might be a little bit of sweet for CLG, but there's something about this kid in playoff games.
Immortals were able to stop the Baron, though. That was their main goal here. You can see them harassing a lot. And even with the Vel'Koz on him, you can see how tanky Huni is at this point. Gets softened up right here, though, turns mini, and then we get a look at it. That's his reaction to Stixay's flash in.
Oh, Belter's dead. That is tragedy for Immortals.
Again?
Yeah, unlucky.
He basically just spawned too, and it doesn't even look like Seraph's Embrace or anything was able to be used there.
They're going to trade this one for Elder Dragon. Immortals are all going for the opposite objective. Can CLG stop them and claim the Baron?
Afro and Hui are already down there. Smithy does have the ulti. He uses it
the
now.
Void Rush.
Has to get in. Elder Dragon low. Can he steal it? No, Elise is going to claim it. Immortals stop some of the bleeding.
They take it away, and they're able to get back almost here. Inside track for CLG, they'll at least be able to get this one turret.
TP in, let's go. CLG going to try and take this one down. Darshan playing in the front lines as well. Immortals have to defend for Pobelter. 15 seconds till he's back.
Yeah, and this Elder Dragon, it's not that great because it's only got one Drake behind it. But right here, Rainover on the side, they're just dealing damage to this turret. They're just trying to muscle it down.
They're going to take it. It will fall here. Pobelter back up. 3 seconds. CLG. Do they want to commit for this inhibitor? They don't. It's a little too dicey. Immortals look for an exit kill. Darshan threatens again with the taunt. Stixay going to miss that snare. Rainover definitely dodges it. CLG, you cannot get greedy here.
Some critical picks for CLG in the last few minutes of the gameplay here. Wild Turtle and Pobelter both going down to those long-range snipes. And Smithy as well had a flank to cut off the disengage from Immortals and really bring it all together. Now with Baron buff, they can return to the siege and try and get more.
Time for these players to take a deep breath. CLG seems like they're in position to force it down, but again, the goal is so close. We're late into the game. Again, it's just going to come down to execution, and both these teams have shown such incredible mental all series long. Game 3, I don't know if I could have flipped 100 coins in a row and figured out like what the result of that game was going to be.
They kind of did.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort
Fight
of
after
what it felt
fight.
like. CLG are kind of poised to do some damage here and open up a window, but window's real small.
Oh yeah, Gnar looking to hop through the window though. Huni's found a way into the back line.
Might have busted through the wall here. Stixay has to cut it out. Afro blocks everything. Smithy makes it back to his team. Afro doing so much work to block him out of CLG. Just have to kite back. Now Stixay opens fire once more. Tagging in onto Huni. Buckles ulti's not bad. Last crit shot to it. Is it going to go? It actually crits Adrian to almost death.
Mega Gnar about to pop for Huni as well. He's letting it calm down right now. Actually, it did pop. And they're going to have to disengage because of that huge chunk onto the back line as well. CLG, they don't get anything out of it, though. Immortals actually stall out on the push. That wasn't a bad move at all for them. You know, they delay this Baron buff of CLG, and buy more time for them to wait it out.
Yeah, they buy time for themselves to wait out that Baron buff, but also that Dragon didn't really get anything for Immortals in that time.
Yeah, the stealing away that Elder Drake I think is more a takeaway to remove one of those neutral objectives from the possibility of CLG taking them. Uh-oh, here we go though. Some extra trading.
Yeah, Huni building up rage. Baron Cannon not enough there to deter Immortals. Huni TPing in! Very deep flank being attempted here. CLG.
He's got Mega.
They need Sivir Ultimate to bring this together though, because CLG are already disengaged.
Total's already popped it. They're looking for it. Huni, they have to keep him out. They need the Mega Knight to dissipate. Wallop not going to hit onto Xmithy.
Careful about the re-engage here. Counter Logic could turn it around. And Immortals are going to respect that and back off.
Yeah, the fact that the CLG backed off and went to the correct area and avoided that TP from Huni now just gives them a lot of options. And here we go, curtain call.
Finding Rainover, damage is decent, but he's pretty tanky at this stage of the game. CLG just going to push down mid. They're trying to force this down.
Now they have those minions though, the ones that they set in motion on the top lane. They're at the inhibitor and it might buy them a little bit of time, but they're feeling very cautious about heading through that small corridor.
Huni is looking to make pretty interesting play here. Snare not going to land. He hops out to safety. Immortals, do they fancy a re-engage here?
And they kind of need CLG to walk into one of those corridors so they can get the Cassiopeia ultimate, the Gnar ultimate. These things that, uh-oh, here they go, actually.
Yeah,
A big corridor.
Yeah, well, Dota's going to run down. Who actually going to get protected by the Stand United? Ulti hits
Rainover.
That goes down. Rainover is dead. CLG 5v4 again as Darshan leaps in with the Randuins plus the taunt.
Huni has
ulti. Huni, they have to get him out of the way, or they can CC him to death. He flashes out front of the Vel'Koz knock-up. CLG still on the power play.
Yeah, Immortals forced that one a little bit, running right down the mid lane, kind of telegraphed. CLG turned it around with the Shen Stand United and the re-engage. No further pickoffs, though.
And a lot of CC there onto Rainover. Got him before he could get the cocoon in the right spot.
Right now, though, if Immortals can install, there's a big minion wave on the bottom lane that is crashing into CLG inhibitor turret at the moment, and it's doing a lot of work for them.
Yeah, and that was one that was weakened previously by Huni. So it may go down. This is a lot. That's a crowd.
It's dead.
It's like the Air Canada Center's on that day.
Well, the minions for Immortals take out, open up a nice little space in the bottom lane that they could look to play to. CLG tried to force their way in, see if they couldn't do more damage, but that'll cost them there. See how Immortals look to play around that. Baron's up in 145. Elder Dragon not up for a little while because that's a 10-minute spawn after Immortals took it. But if this game goes late enough, we may see our second Elder Dragon, which is a very rare sight indeed.
Yes, it is. You know it's a long game when you get Elder Dragon Jr. popping up.
It has been a long time since I've seen a best of 5 where a lot of the games get to 40 minutes and the gold is just flat even. You'll see that maybe 1 game, 2 games, 3 games. It's absolutely absurd right now how CLG are playing to the level of this team that was #1 in spring, #2 in summer, and was expected to be a finalist both times. And now Immortals, they have to play on the back foot for half of these games. They don't have early game leads, and it's coming down to these fights later on.
Really is coming together. CLG with pretty much the entire summer split of struggle, trying to get back to this point. Now Immortals looking to push them off of it as they have their sights set on that 3rd place spot.
CLG, plenty of pressure to play with in the side lanes between Darshan and Xmithy with their globals. Immortals, though, looking to stake claim to the Baron area, but it's not up for about 35 seconds. They'll have a decent shot of vision right now. In fact, both teams are pretty blind in that area. In general, the wards get less because the inventories get a little too full. Very dangerous to be walking around these parts without your team.
And one of the great things about Cassiopeia, she doesn't have to buy boots. You get a 6th item, you get a lot more AP. Now, as Pobelter will get to that point, he's going to have a lot of power behind him.
Yep, so far, 80 carries are maxed out. Top laners and junglers pretty close to that point. Meanwhile, it is about the pushing here on the side lane. Darshan getting a little bit of answer damage, while the 4-man squad of CLG moves up. Now, keep track of the deep wards here for Immortals as well. Huni's teleport is back off of cooldown. He's got the rage bar in the perfect place. So some of these wards here in the blue quadrant of CLG's jungle are an opportunity for him to try that again. And this time, if they could have Sivir Ultimate sync up and actually close the gap there a second earlier, then Immortals might be able to show you what they wanted that team fight to look like.
Feels like this game, and maybe the series is just going to be determined by these minute windows of opportunity. Baron is back alive and on the table as an objective. See if the teams do want to go for it. Immortals move their way in. They'll clear out the vision. CLG now forced to check the area.
Yeah, and this is a Cassiopeia. They can do this so quickly if Immortals jump on it. But look at this. They know that they're split.
Oh, Huni actually got tagged by Afro. Maybe the rest of CLG are in trouble. Afro turns it around. Rocco's also going to shred down Rainover, but it's not quite enough. Stixay does kill Rainover in the end, and Afro's tanking so much.
Huni in the back.
Powerbelter goes down. Huni trying to do what he can. He gets the double wallop, but now going to get himself stunned. Xmindy kites his way away. Does have the GA and CLG. I think they're doing it. Huni dead. Good knock up there after the GA. CLG claim a couple.
Can they chase down more? It looks like Turtle's going the deep end here into CLG territory through the turrets, and he's trying to kite him out.
Flash on from Darshan. CLG going to make this efficient as they look to take down Turtle. Turtle is just buying time. His team on his back.
He's his heel.
Trying to kite away. Flashes over to the enemy base. Spell shields an auto from the Rek'Sai and stands his ground. Darshan claims him, but what a hero.
Meanwhile, Stixay and Huhi are pushing up the bottom lane, trying to get into the base.
And Adrian's the one who's left here just to try and buy some time. The TP from Darshan looks like he's going to try to get up here.
His death time is long, but maybe not long enough. CLG, how are you feeling? How much do you want to press to try and force this game 5?
Well, Rainover's about to come up, then 20 more seconds on Huni after that. I wouldn't try and grab too much, the way these games have been going.
Especially since Elder Dragon is in 1 minute right now. If you end up dying, you would be dead for that fight.
Baron is on the Rift as well already, and definitely could be used to quickly push through the base, or Baron Empowered Recall to try and protect your Nexus.
And this is an attempt at a flank from Xmithy and Huni. Huni ends up right here, but Xmithy's on the backside on the left, and this is great. Poebelter interrupts Huhi, but there's still just so much damage.
Yeah, look at the collapse here onto the back line of CLG. They peel for Stixay and Huhi just barely. Huhi uses both summoners. He's able to barely get out. Look at that. That must be sub 50 HP right there on him. Then Stixay zones the back line here. Turtle didn't get to go back in at all there. And barely coming out ahead. CLG are able to take control of the map. We'll see if this turns into a Baron bait. As the tables have turned, we'll see if vision control comes up next.
Gonna have to get off Turtle's Wild right at the end of the replay, unfortunately, because both big objectives are back up here, and Huni's gone back in for it.
That can't build his Mega Gnar just yet, so he's just getting this chip damage in the Frozen Mallet.
Remember, a lot of summoners were boned in the last
Darshan.
fight.
Sneaky Shen. Dustblade's gonna proc. Huni takes some damage.
Huni is the only one with Flash besides it. Well, never mind. It's not going to matter. Here we go.
Buying time. They're going to try and make it work here for Darshan. He's getting pressure into the other lane.
What I meant to say is all of the CLG members are flashless, and the back line has no escape. So Huni's flash, very important here for Gnar. If he can get into the back line, a great Mega Gnar can still win it for Immortals. CLG moving over to the Baron, though.
Exactly. They're moving over to Baron. They have a drop portal in the mid lane, and they have Darshan pushing bottom. He's on the Nexus turrets right now.
He's still going for it. We've got a race on our hands. CLG gonna check Immortals here. Darshan doing what he can. Immortals desperate. Turtle gets blown up by Huhi, and now Xmithy gonna charge in to try and take it out. CLG are gonna claim the Baron with a Stixay crit. Claim the teamfight. They get it all.
Game 5, here we come. Silver Scrapes, start playing.
Yeah, cue the music, boys and girls. Huni gonna try and save the day. He's actually doing decent damage here, but he doesn't quite have it all. Huni still alone now, gets tagged in as Darshan chases him in. Minina will be destroyed here. And CLG gonna push to try and close it out as Adrian is the only one left alive.
The damage dealers are dead. CLG are looking to take us to Game 5.
Let's go, because CLG are gonna try and move out the Nexus. Darshan and the rest of his crew will stand united indeed, blow up the Nexus, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It is Game 5 time. I told you!
You right, Pastry, you right.
I just had a feeling.
Man, everybody is very happy that you're right. Game number 5, and if this series is any indication, it is going to be a close nail-biter.
It is quite the barn burner already. 50-minute games back to back.
And the reason that the ending of that one looks so strange with Immortals rushing into what looked like the death sentence inside the Baron pit is because of what you just mentioned off screen, Irene. The split pushing Shen put a timer on that. If they didn't rush it and force that, then they were going to lose to the split push pressure.
Yeah, it's so good by CLG to force that catch-22 situation where if you go after the Baron, you're losing your base. If you go after Darshan, well, you're going to lose the Baron, and then maybe you'll lose your base afterwards. So they're putting them in really difficult situations that they have to have really clear heads about, and Immortals right now just seem a little bit scattered.
Well, we are taking this series to 5 games. So let's pass it back to Riven, the analyst, to break down the action so far. And boy, has there been a lot of it.
Thank you very much, guys. And I think everybody from the players to the viewers at home in the stadium, we're all running on that last empty bit in the tank. The teams have been giving it their all, and we have seen it throughout every game, and it only gets closer and closer, longer and longer. Here we're going to start once again in picks and bans. The CLG chose to go back for that blue side.
I think there's 2 really interesting things going on in this draft. First is the Rek'Sai first pick again. A lot of us were probably thinking the Sivir, the Gnar, something like that, but they stick to keeping Reignover off his most comfort champion. And then the other thing is, of course, the early Cassio pick.
Well, also the fact that you go with the Vel'Koz and the Jhin, so you basically have no way of getting onto them if you don't have a flank. And when they don't pick the Gragas, where you don't have any actual engage because you have the Trundle support, you find yourself in the situations where Huni's trying to make the most amazing flank in the world, and it almost worked.
And I gotta say, actually, the Rek'Sai first pick seems a little bit weird, but I think the fact that Reignover is looking so uncomfortable in this series, he has been making so many uncharacteristic mistakes, taking him off his best champion is really working. And I gotta give a lot of credit to Huhi as well. You know, he's playing without a Rallying Soul, that's disabled, so that's one of his best champions down, and he is crushing it. He's bringing out different picks. The Cassidy didn't work, but it could have, and Vel'Koz here, not seen a lot. He was huge. He got a lot of the picks that actually won this game.
I think this is one of like the swing factors in the series is the fact that I think Immortals assumed that their mid laner would be winning a lot of matchups, but because Huhi's champion pool seems to be so deep that he can just deal with them over prioritizing a Cassio and he's fine. There's 2 mid lane bans in Vlad and Syndra, and he's not being stretched at all, and I think that gives them a huge leg up in these games.
Well, it also seems like a bit of a waste saving that last pick of your support with the Trundle every single time. You know, you could make so much more happen if you save that for a better matchup. Look at the entire team comp, and you would have been able to see, oh, we need a flanker here. Maybe it's time to pick a different champion as opposed to either Trundle or Taric every single time, or maybe Karma.
It's definitely tough to say. I mean, the Trundle, obviously, it's a little bit underwhelming as far as like how exciting it is, but that ultimate is ridiculously effective against Shen. It really shreds Shen so heavily, and Turtle is just laying his last whisper every single game, super long time, so that is kind of enabling him to do that a little bit more. But I agree. I think generally when you do leave your support for last pick, you want to either get a really advantageous lane matchup, or you want to be waiting to see, okay, they picked melee support, we can pick Taric.
I think that's the big thing, is that you're waiting this long to give such a high important pick in the draft to your bot lane, and they're still kind of getting rolled every game. I mean, Stixxay's going off, he's up a ton of CS, and he always has a ton of kills, and it doesn't seem like Turtle has any pick that he's comfortable with into any of Stixxay's picks.
And it seems like there's that change for Turtle. Stixxay and Huhi both have performed well on an international stage once they got there, even being some of the rookies on the team. So seeing that play come from them is obviously giving the team more confidence.
And they're running a double carry comp every single time, and it's working so well. They're dishing out, I think Stixxay had 60k damage that game. I mean, he's hitting 2k crits in the late game, which is insane. Nobody can tank there. Reignover's getting 2-shot when he's trying to go for cocoons.
And let's see some of these fights. We'll start off 15 minutes in. CLG's 2-for-1 at the Drake. We can see him on your screen talking it out, but they close in on these so well.
What confuses me here a little bit is the fact that like Reignover isn't anywhere close to this fight. It seems like Immortals are just on a different page where Huni and Pobelter, are going to get caught out of position and blown up in this fight. And like Pobelter has no mana. It's such a curious situation that
you throw the question mark as it's so curious.
the question mark things come out.
Yeah, he's in Raptors at that time. I mean, you got to tell the team to back off, or you just don't start that.
Right. It was just a very curious fight, and it seems like they're just not on the same page at a lot of early points in the series.
Which is weird, because they're always the team that we talk about, oh, what, right call, wrong call. They're all on the same page. They're all in it together, and they have not really been that way today.
Which the criticism that we throw towards Reignover, to be honest, Huni has been going off by himself.
That's true.
He is doing so much work in this series. It's insane.
Even with the frustration of his misses in the first games that we physically saw him expressing that emotion.
He went for a flank that blew both the carry summoners right away. I mean, you cannot get more impressive than that.
Well, it caused a lot of fighting throughout this one. We had to get about 25-30 in before we really got any more fights. And this goes to show how scrappy it was becoming as CLG kind of takes a little more than they can handle here.
This is what we were talking about, where we say Huni's flanks have been super impressive, because coming in as a mini-Gnar like this, most people just kind of get blown up, but he's able to sidestep, holds his jump, and he just starts getting a lot of pressure down that enables Reignover to get that cocoon off.
Well, look how much damage he actually got off onto Huhi. He almost sold out the Vel'Koz there, which was massive because they were struggling to get on this guy throughout the whole game.
Ignore that little failed jump, though. But overall, yeah, like the rest of the fights have been super impressive by Huni, and it's kind of the rest of his team not holding up. You know, Pobelter dying in lane, with a gank, having to lose his summoners. He walked up and blew his ultimate against the Vel'Koz like that.
It's a tough act to follow, to be honest. He is doing so well, but ultimately he cannot do it by himself. And I think that the biggest lack that is usually there for him is Reignover. You know them as the duos, as the guys that go in together and they're able to deal with the backline or deal with anybody in front of them. And because Reignover's not there to be right there with him, they just don't get these same results.
And I mean, one thing that's a little bit strange is, yeah, okay, maybe Wild Turtle and Adrian are struggling in lane, but this was a 6-item Sivir. He got to get like 500 CS. He's fully built, and he's still doing less than half the damage of the Jhin. He's doing, almost half the damage of his Gnar top laner, and that's just not an acceptable performance from these guys. You depend on the Sivir, you depend on this Cassiopeia to carry in the late game, and so far they haven't been able to do it, and they haven't been able to find a way in on the Vel'Koz and the Jhin with. It was just very well played.
To be fair, I think the comp is kind of hard to play against for Immortals. Sivir and Cassie are both a little on the short range side, and then every time that they would speed up Reignover to get in, he wouldn't hit his cocoon on like a primary target, or he would just kind of get peeled away. And Reignover's lack of impact in these team fights is very troubling, especially in the early game. He's just not getting anything done, and then CLG is fine, like abandoning their top side, basically saying, Darshan, lose 30 CS, lose your turret, we'll roll the rest of the map.
And it's uncharacteristic, as you say, for Immortals. We see them usually a 2,000, 1,000 gold lead, something in their favor to push. But these games have been completely even, bringing us to 48 minutes, which became a CLG 4-0 in our next replay here. The gold was near even by about 200, and then the game explodes from here.
And it's once again an incredible TP by Huni, but unfortunately the follow-up on the carries is just not there. A good exhaust for him Afro onto Pobelter stops so much of the DPS, and because he's unable to get a full man ultimate here, the follow-up from Immortals is just not going to be there, so they're going to be able to easily dispose of him, kite back, and even had Huhi died there, the fact that 6A gets away and there's nobody there to actually get in range, who do you say, hey, your job is to kill 6A? You don't have anybody.
Right, it's the kind of thing where maybe he got the full 3-man Gnarl, then Wild Turtle feels free to walk up and start getting autos off, but he was really out of range of anyone in that fight.
And you can just see how much trouble Turtle was really having getting in. If you look at me, he's at the back of the Jhin ult, he's just strafing back and forth.
Like don't hit me,
guy.
please.
Yeah.
I mean, the damage numbers are crazy too. It's just Huni like double anyone else on his team basically, and everyone else just, we hit some people in team fights while you hopefully set us up.
And it's like 6A had the damage of 3 CLG members combined, which is, that's a lot of DPS right there.
We'll see if they can all step up. Big thing here, IMT has actually selected blue coming in for Game 5. You were kind of talking about, let's put that Trundle pick last. Why are you putting something else? But now they're going to be on that blue side.
I think they want that Rek'Sai.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
saying we need to put Reignover on something that has a bigger impact, easier to pull off in the early game, and just something that he's more comfortable, because when you pick Rek'Sai, you know exactly what you're getting. A reliable jungler that has an easy way of making plays, and you put Xmithie on something harder to make plays. I mean, it seems like he just shows up bottom every game and gets kills whenever he wants.
The question to me is going to be, do CLG actually put so much priority on Rek'Sai that they just ban it out? Because it's interesting to see strategies even being changed based on this Rek'Sai, how impactful Reignover is on it versus how inconsistent he's looking off of it. Maybe it's worth a ban. We'll see, though.
Yeah, I think it's really close because none of the things scream you can drop them, like maybe the Tom or something,
really hard.
because we haven't seen it yet, but it could be a big problem if they don't, because it just allows Turtle to be even safer.
Risk it for the biscuit.